Hey guys, welcome back. This is the post-game spread. I am your host, Blake Helm. This is going to be our new segment called Touch 'em All. And essentially what it is going to be is a Q&A, a lengthy Q&A about, some things baseball, some things about life. And we're going to riff off those questions. Some will be short, some will be long, some will expand. And we're going to be going through guys from my career, pro guys, college guys, interesting guys. So our first guest is going to be Ryan Aper. So there's going to be a few ads, and then enjoy Ryan Aper. Touch 'em all.
We are also brought to you by Josh Badman of Radon Fighters. He can be reached at 217-823-9536. This is a great guy. He's my fellow firefighter. Use post-game spread as a code to save $25 on a radon inspection. If you're buying a home or just want peace of mind for radon in your house, please give Josh a call. He was a standout player at Morrisonville back in the day and then played at SCI for Coach Tor in the early 2000s. Go see Radon Fighters. And now a few words from our sponsors. The majority of these guys are local to the central Illinois area. They all have ties, deep ties to the baseball community. So if you see a need for any of these services, please go patronize these guys. We really appreciate them. Thank you so much. This episode is being brought to you by Eric Easley of the Easley Real Estate Team with the Real Estate Group. This team consists of Eric, Jamie Murphy, and Caitlin Fry. They can be reached at 217-971-3256 or at theeasleysalesteam.com. Eric was a standout quarterback and shortstop at Southeast back in the mid-90s and later starred at Western Illinois in baseball. Also one of the best umpires around this area for many years, teaming up with Bobby Erickson. He sold houses for all kinds of baseball dudes in the area. The Knadler brothers, Justin and Jason, Ryan Murphy, Todd Schneller, the Savota family. And when it was time for Corey to sell his house and buy his new house, there's only one place he went. That's Eric Easley and the Easley Real Estate Team. So go see these guys for all your real estate needs. We really appreciate you. We are also brought to you by Matt Brewer. Matt is an attorney here in town at the law offices of Stephen Kelly. Matt exclusively practices in the areas of personal injury and workers' compensation. He can be reached at 217-544-8000 or mbrewer@stephenkelly.com. I loved competing against this guy growing up. He was an SHG grad, 2002, stud in football and baseball. Went on to star for Dan Callahan at SIU Carbondale and then had a one-year career pitching in the Diamondbacks organization. I ran into this guy the other day. He looks like he could still lace him up. We appreciate you, Matt. We are also brought to you by Christ the King Men's Club. This was facilitated by my good buddy John Chisholm. We grew up playing baseball together. Played on the Flame together, played high school ball. He played some college ball at Spoon River. This is a great organization. They put on tons of events. They raise money for the school. They put it back into the academics, into the sports. They do bourbon raffles, breakfast with Santa, mother-son dances, silent auctions. It's all positive. It's all good. We really appreciate you, Christ the King Men's Club. Thank you. We are also brought to you by Cardinal Cleaning. They can be reached at cardinalcleaningonline.com and 217-679-6567. The owner-operator, Adam Springer, local baseball dude, family friend, stand out at Chatham Glenwood in the mid-90s. Also had a stellar career at Rend Lake and Kentucky Wesleyan. Cardinal Cleaning can take care of any cleaning needs you have. Home, business, restaurant, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever you need, they can take care of you. Get a hold of Cardinal Cleaning. They'll do the rest. This episode is brought to you by Glisten Heating and Air. You can reach them at 217-341-3129 or visit glistenheatingandair.com. That's Glisson. This is owned and operated by Gibbs Gleason himself, a member of the 2000 Pleasant Plains baseball team that were state champs. That's the Dusty Bensko era, former guest. This guy's in the baseball community. He helps coach his son, who's in the local travel scene. This truly is the pros pro for HVAC in the area. I mean, this is a who's who of former pros that have used him. Let's talk about Corey Erickson, Jason Worth, Ryan Murphy, Jason Knadler, Justin Knadler, Brad Owens, Greg Morantz, Jason Washam, Eric Easley. His reviews speak for themselves. Call Glisten Heating and Air. They care about your air. We appreciate you. Here we go, buddy. We're here.
We're back, baby. We are back.
We're back. This is so cool. I'm sitting across from Ryan Aper right here. This is the post-game spread. I am your host, Blake Helm. This is going to be a lot of things here today. This is going to be essentially Ryan's part 3 in a way. He was our first ever guest. This is also going to be kind of a play into my new segment that I want to do called Touch 'em All, where it's mostly baseball Q&A, and we kind of riff off that, and it's kind of someone's last chance to, my play on, touch 'em all, go around the bases one last time and talk about it. And in your first time coming on, it was, I wasn't as polished as a host yet, and we didn't get a very lengthy Q&A, and that's become a really fun thing for me to do, is like really get a feel for how they feel about certain parts of the game and fun stuff and little stuff. So we're going to go back. We've been trying to do this since April, really, because that was about the year mark of when you first came on. And it's just things in life have come up, but now here we are, and is it September now?
It is September 1.
Oh, my gosh,
right?
man.
Or August 31st.
Yeah. Yep,
September 1. Sunday, September 1.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Where did the summer go? Crazy. But like I said, this guy was my first guest, and I've got flowers for you on the front end and the back end. So I'll save some for the end, but thank you again for coming on in the first place. And you were so incredible for how you set up everything and how you were so honest and so raw. And I truly don't believe this thing would have taken off as it has if it weren't for you and how you did it. Because we kind of went into the first episode being like, hey, if this sucks, we're not even going to put it out.
Yeah,
right?
We did. No, we absolutely did. But also there was a lot of thought that went into it before that first episode too. Like we had kind of kicked the idea back and forth for many months, if not an entire year, leading up to that first episode. So it was cool to kind of be there as, I was obviously honored, that you thought my story was, good enough or whatever, worthy enough to be the first episode. And
no one else could have done it.
You and I talked, several times after the fact of like, was that too much? Was it not enough? I had asked you a few times, like, should we take this out? And I wasn't sure how anybody else would come, after me.
Right.
And we saw a lot of variance in that. I think we saw a lot of, very honest, very open to the struggles. And I don't think everybody has the same struggles. So
You're right, totally.
It's not easy to compare my story to their story, which what makes this so unique is all the different perspectives and the stories that were told and all the crazy journeys that everybody else has been on. It's a lot of the same, but also too so much variation within everybody's story. So it was cool, man. You were always reassuring to me after the fact, and it was really cool to see how wide of a range or wide of an audience you ended up reaching with bringing all these people on after me, and it was really cool, man. I was honored then, honored now, glad to be here to do another episode kind of in a new format, so to speak, which I'm excited about.
I'm honored that you trusted me enough to do it, man. And I do believe that people text me all the time about it, and I think that yours is the most. People mention it to me the most. Like, that was the most real. That was my favorite. Superfan Kim Worth has always said it's her number one favorite episode, and I actually gave her a autographed Ryan Aper ball, and cool. It is, dude. There was something so raw about it. I didn't know how much you were going to open up, but if you didn't set the blueprint, no one else would have been as comfortable as they were letting go of some of their stuff. And I know just going back and talking about your career and looking back on it through different lenses as an adult, as you've been through stuff, learned about life, can be cathartic, therapeutic, good for you. I hope it was a good experience for you overall, and I hope it brought some good to your life.
For sure.
Ways,
absolutely. It absolutely was. And, I think a lot of people would agree with that statement there at the end of where it is cathartic, it is therapeutic to a certain degree. And it's, like we've said many times on here, I've heard you say it many times on here, it's not something that you get to really talk about ever. It's just kind of like you work your whole life to chase this dream, and then one day it's just over. And now you're expected to just go back into society and be a I'm not going to say a regular human being or a regular citizen, but the story gets a little less interesting after baseball.
Yeah, unique. Baseball is such a unique path. It's not a normal life in any way.
It's up, down, all around, and everything in between. And I mean, so is life too. So I'm not downplaying that, but it's certainly not. To many of us, like the cool thing anymore is like going and working a desk job and trying to find your way in the community. And
so well said.
Yeah, I mean, you just go from being so like self-indulged to a certain degree. Like
it's a selfish pursuit.
Yeah, it's your only concern is yourself, and so like for me, I had kids.
That's an adjustment too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and that's where kind of pro ball changes you. Is it's such a team sport. It takes all 9 guys and then some to go out and win every day, especially at a high level. But, when you're in the minor leagues, man, I don't care if my team was 140, but if I was hitting 300,
that's what it's really about.
Pretty good chance of moving up a level.
If you're being honest with yourself,
yeah,
right?
For sure. And,
right.
I'm sure not many guys would admit that that's how they looked at it. Maybe some guys got on a little bit better of a team mentality organization, but for a lot of guys, it is a very selfish pursuit. So
yeah, I mean, even your own teammates can be looked at as opposition in a way, right? They can be blocking your way, or
I remember thinking like, this guy's trying to take my money, my job here.
Yeah.
This is a guy I live with. It's at some points like
right.
This is my roommate that's starting over me, and that's not cool. But it is what it is, and I just think that it was really interesting to hear. The variation and everybody's path and their journey and the struggles, the injuries or lack thereof, and it was cool, man. I'm, like I said, happy to have been a part of it.
Yeah.
Happy to be a part of it again here today.
Yeah,
and
this is awesome.
I want to point out the heavyweight, world champion heavyweight.
I brought it today.
Post-game spread belt. This thing is next level. So as another positive, another additive to coming on the show is you get to hold this thing. And it's like a legit WWE championship belt here. So
for those of you that don't know, my co-host on Out of Left, Joey Albsmeyer, is the number one professional wrestling fan in the country, and got me a very legit wrestling championship belt that it says post game spread heavyweight champion. This is like a $200 and something belt. This is the.
It looks like it. Feels like it too. It's heavy.
I'm bringing it to every episode now, and I'm making the guest pose with it. So we already got a picture of Aper. I'll throw that up on Facebook here in a little bit. But yeah, it's legit. It's definitely setting a vibe in here.
It's a world heavyweight champion vibe. That's right. You can't replace that.
To further recap a little bit, and I always do this a little bit to start of the episodes, but we'll give a little rundown of Aper's background and what this guy is. Graduated from Lincoln High School, Lincoln Courier Player of the Year, CS8, all conference a bunch of times. 2013 NJCAA Player of the Year, first team All-American, just insane numbers that his second year, his first year too, but third in D2 in hitting with 462, 10th in the nation in RBIs, 55, second in triples with 12. Led the country in 17 home runs, led the nation with 82 runs scored, third in steals with 52, led JUCO with 904 slugging. I already said second in triples. Went on to rewrite the entire Lincoln Land record books before being selected by the Miami Marlins in the 6th round of the 2013 draft, going on to play for about 3.5 years. We've already gotten into you guys already know that story, right? And how I know Aper just a little bit. I, was playing a little bit of independent ball, and Bull, Ron Riggle always let guys come back, former loggers, to practice with the team. This was right in the middle of like this dude becoming the dude.
It's like 2012, 2013.
Yeah, right before you're about to have your season for the ages, and I remember Bull being like, "This is the guy, right? Like this is like the guy. He's going to get drafted for real." There's cross checkers coming, and we just kind of slowly built this friendship, and I ended up training you some while you were playing pro ball, and while I was still playing, we would hit some and throw some, and it's just really been a brotherhood ever since then, man. And it goes. Our relationship is so much beyond baseball to me, you know.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it was. We started off as kind of like beneficiaries of each other's where we were at the time.
Sure.
It's hard to find somebody that can really be like in the trenches with you in the off season.
Sure.
And when you're trying to go prep for, a bunch of games the next year in pro ball, it's, luckily for me, I had Blake, I had Mitch Trees, I had, a couple other guys in and out that were, I was able to work in with and work out with. But yeah, Blake and I have, stayed very close throughout the years, and it's been awesome, man. It's good to have a brother like that, and it's, it's another one of the things that comes with the game of baseball for sure.
Truly a brotherhood to me. Well, buddy, you want to just get into some of these questions? I have no idea how long they're going to take, so just get rolling.
Let's see.
Let's see how many I've got here. I just wrote down or typed out a bunch of questions. I've got 93 questions here.
93 questions.
So we'll see. I don't know. Some of them might be a little repetitive, so might go a little bounce around here. So you obviously listened to some of these episodes. Who have been some of your favorite guests, and why? If you want to name a couple, or if you have any thoughts on a couple.
They were, like I said earlier, every one of them is so interesting to me because, knowing what I know and having gone through what I went through, it's really interesting to me to hear the variance, and I've used that word several times now, but it's just it's just been really cool, man, to peel back the layers and hear some stories. But I think the ones that had like a personal impact in my life would definitely be like Justin Knadler, somebody who was very instrumental in my career at a very important time of my career. I mean, I have always said to anybody that would listen that if I didn't have a Justin Knadler when we cross paths, like I don't go on to do what I do. And it wasn't that, Justin was, I don't want to say this, he was just the right leader for me. Somebody that I was very, very easy to buy into. He works hard for you. He works hard for himself, for his family, and you could see that. And so, just to hear, because I knew him as Coach Knadler, right? Yeah. So he can't be buddy-buddy to me when he's got 5 of us running around. Everybody wants to line up and take BP, and so you can only get little bits and pieces of JU.
Sure.
But now, it's really cool. And, I really enjoyed Bo Hartz as well. I think
thank you.
That was, man, just a wild, wild story. I mean, it's really goes to show, like, just what the game of baseball can do for somebody's life. And how tough it can be, how mentally just grueling it can be, and the fortitude that is required to keep it pushing and keep progressing, or at least just holding your own for a while till you get your shot, and then some making the most of it when you get it. So everybody's has been very interesting. There wasn't any single one where it was like a tough listen at all. To me, it's just it's a love for the game, and to hear grown men speaking on their experiences after the fact is powerful. Very, very powerful.
Well said. Couple things that came to mind while you were talking there. There's an old saying, and I say weird things on here sometimes, so I don't care. I'm just going to sink into it at this point. Like, I really don't care. But it's like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, and that made me think of you and Justin, right? Like,
that's
the perfect teacher at the right time for you, right? He'd been through it very similarly to you. Yep. He was like he was the 5th round guy.
Yeah. Well, he'd been drafted a couple times.
Yeah, but he'd been through it. He knew what it felt like to get attention, and like, am I going to pass this up, or what am I? So I just, man, and
he was like calming for me in that moment, in those moments, like when it really started to get crazy, when my phone was ringing every night. I'm getting, these questionnaires that I have to fill out to make myself draftable, like for the MLB and in minor league, and you're trying to process all this, and you obviously want to stay level-headed. You understand that nothing is guaranteed. Right. It's like you just trust in the process. You trust in the work, and that was something that, I was ready for the work. It was getting the right work, and it was getting.
Did he help show you a professional process, you feel like?
I think it was just, I think JU had a very professional demeanor about the way that, he brought a very professional structure. Having been a catcher, somebody who has to be very structured. They're working with entire pitching staffs in all these different levels, and Justin wasn't a guy that went to one spot and sat for, many years. Like, he was on different teams and different organizations and was at different levels and, just different managers, different, it's a pitching staff's, 12, 13 guys. It's a lot of guys that you kind of have to keep in check or at least keep some mental note of. And so, he, I think, had a different approach to each person, something that, he was just so good that he could just eyeball it. He could watch your swing from the side for, 15, 20 swings and maybe just give you that one little tidbit.
Yeah.
Justin didn't come with the Justin Knadler book of hitting. It was very simple.
Yeah.
It was trust the hands. Just and you and I have always talked about the swing and our swings, and when I started to suffer was when I thought I was smart. The smarter I got, the worse of a hitter I became.
Oh man, yeah.
And I just remember the most simple one-liners from Justin.
He had a couple things that were very
hands above
simple,
the
right?
ball,
Yeah.
trust the hands,
Right.
like finish high.
Yeah.
And all those things translate to a very, very effective swing if you're properly deploying the mechanics that he's talking about.
Yeah.
So it was a very professional approach to just the way he handled himself and the team. The hitters, he was the strength and conditioning guy as well.
Yeah.
So he had his hand in everybody. Everybody knew JU as on a personal level. So
Well said.
yeah.
I also want to give kudos to JU. I thought he absolutely lit it up. I wasn't expecting him to be
great.
So personable and so willing to tell his stories. Like I've always thought of Jason as probably the more outgoing, kind of like Mr. Sunshine. But Justin just lit it up, man. He showed me another side to him that I was really impressed with. I thought he was
Jason's was
absolutely
great
phenomenal.
too.
Yeah, Jason was great.
And O'Malley's, I don't want to skip over anybody's because
sure, they all had their place.
It's easy for me to stop and just focus on Justin, but
because that's your guy. Right?
Yeah, Jason's was awesome. O'Malley's was awesome.
Yeah, they've all got their place.
It was really cool to hear because those guys are like, for me with the age gap there, not to age them or me, but they're a little bit older than me.
Yeah.
So it's like you hear a story. These guys are like the legends. Like the myths,
right.
and to hear. I remember watching O'Malley's game in Houston.
Yeah.
I he's telling that story, and it's putting me back to being
kid.
I don't even remember how old I was. I was young, but I remember watching him. I'm like, I'm pulling for this dude.
Sure.
And he doesn't even know who I am. And so,
right, yeah.
It's the game of baseball,
Powerful.
man. I ended up getting to meet O'Malley, and he helped us out at Lincoln Land a few times. It's just, it's really cool, man. It's cool to see, these guys come back and be open to telling their story.
I totally agree. All right, moving on. Who are your three? Who do you think are the three greatest hitters of all time?
Man, see, when you say all time, you have to at least include somebody from like way back when.
Sure.
Right?
Whatever you want to say. This is your list. This isn't. There's no right.
Yeah, I think I want to say. I think Lou Gehrig's got to be up there. Mickey Mantle's got to be up there. But I also think already a guy like Ohtani's got to be up there.
Doing some absolutely incredible things.
A guy like Aaron Judge has got to be up there.
Sure.
It's one thing to have that kind of season one time.
Yeah.
But Judge is right back
every year
doing it this year too. The numbers he's putting up this year are crazy. I think Trout's got to be in there.
Yeah.
I think there's got to be some guys from the 90s. I think, you got to put
Bonds
for sure, yeah. I know that's the most controversial, but gosh, nobody could flick a ball like he could.
Oh my goodness,
he could do it.
Yeah.
I guess my hard top three would be Gehrig, Bonds, and I'm gonna say Trout.
Okay. Yeah.
I give Judge and Ohtani another 3 years of doing it at such a high level.
Yeah.
When Trout was healthy.
Sure. Oh man, we've had conversations about this.
When he was healthy, what he did for that team was what he did for the game of baseball was immeasurable.
I'm not sure where he's at in his career, but the first half of his career was so incredible. So incredible.
And it's we live in such an information era where things like you're just force fed all this new information all the time with the social media and all the apps and the outlets and all this and so it's like we all developed this recency bias
well
and
said.
where the best are the only what we can remember.
Yeah.
You know, and there's so many different eras of baseball where, I mean, like Willie Mays. You know, I could easily put Willie Mays in that list.
Oh yeah, there's so many names.
Yeah,
Ted
so
Williams,
many
Willie
names.
Mays,
Yeah.
You know,
I think, I'll stop there. We could keep
that
going
works.
for hours.
Yeah, that works.
On the top 3, top 5, top 10.
I want to add to that. It's heartbreaking to see what's happened to Mike Trout injury-wise on the back half of his career. You know, like
it's a hard game, man.
It is, and you know we're obviously out of the steroid era, and I'm not part of the game in terms of like I know if guys are doing stuff or aren't, but it doesn't seem like he would be a guy that is, and we're not seeing that the early 2000s when guys were able to prolong their careers by taking gear and juice and stuff. We're not seeing that anymore. The guys are having a hard time in their 30s, on the back half.
62 games.
Yeah, so it's just
62 games.
He was certainly on a trajectory to be one of the GOATs, and he still is.
I think he's still alive.
Yeah, he's still in there.
99.9% first ballot.
Oh, 100%.
Has to
yes.
be.
But I thought he was on trajectory on
to be an all-timer, like on the tops of every list.
one of the tops in the Mount Rushmores of baseball, Okay, we can move on from that. Talk to me. This is fun. So Aper and I, at one point, were doing hitting lessons together. Life has kind of been a little more challenging time-wise for us in the last year, so we haven't been. But we've always talked about hitting quite a bit, talked about drills, just new thoughts on the swing, mechanics, blah, blah, blah. Tell me about feel versus real in hitting. A lot of guys wouldn't understand this, and I've got some thoughts too.
I think that the video era that we're in and the technology that's available now, I'm kind of on the fence about this. I don't know if the feel versus real has become amplified or if it's just become totally obsolete. Because now there is no wonder of, is my bat here at this time, or is my front shoulder flying open at this time, am I staying closed? All these different things can be analyzed within seconds after you take the swing.
Yeah.
So I think, but if you hear guys from like the 90s, early 2000s, like kind of right before this whole technological advancement, you hear a lot of guys talking about swinging down on the ball,
knob to the ball,
yeah, and
hands inside,
all these, everybody that's over the age of like 25, 30, probably this was how they were taught.
Squish the bug,
yeah. I mean, you got guys now that are like, you can't even turn your back foot, like just crazy stuff. But for me, the feel versus real was important. I will always go back and say, the smarter I got, the worse of a hitter I got.
So true, man.
Before I had the ability to go, or the time really to go back and analyze every single swing, the feel versus real was huge for me. It was like, I had to rely off of feel and the flight of the ball. And so for me, like, that was real. What am I feeling, and what is the flight of the ball telling me? If I'm hooking everything into the ground, pull side, I know I'm flying off. Like, if I can't even get the ball backspun in the air to left field, I know I'm flying off the ball. I don't need a video to tell me that. So I'm going to feel whatever I need to feel to consistently produce that right flight of the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
I'm not, I wasn't worried about, am I laying the bat down too early? I was messing with my stance.
You were a little before that period too, when it was like so deeply
right.
Just missed it.
Yeah, which, God, I'm glad, dude. I mean,
you were already in your head with too much information.
Yeah,
so imagine
for
if
sure.
you had that too.
Yep.
Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it could have been good.
Yeah, who knows? But for me, I think right now I could, say that less was more for me.
Yeah. Feel versus real is so fascinating to me because I can think back to, some of the greatest hitters of all time. Let's just say Pujols and A-Rod. And there's all sorts of video of them talking about their swings and talking about literally swinging down, bringing the knob to the ball. All these things now that we know from a mechanical standpoint are not true. But the point I'm trying to make is these guys thought they were. They thought they were swinging down. They thought they were on top of the ball. That gave them the correct feel to kind of have a leveled out, a slightly underneath the ball swing.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. Later on, there's video of Pujols, and he understands now that you do attack the ball from slightly underneath. You are slightly coming up at it. You don't swing down. It's not knob to the ball. It's about creating early bat speed, lag behind you, all this stuff. So at least Pujols knows. But it's fascinating that so many amazing hitters for so long were doing drills, and what they thought they were doing is not what they were actually doing, right? Isn't that wild?
It is. I mean, it is, and it's. I can, I'm like cycling through all these video clips of them talking about how they were hands down, driving the knob to the ball, and trying to like use a swing straight down on the ball to develop backspin,
right?
And you watch it and you're like, that's just not at all what's happening.
No,
but
it's not.
I think maybe we've like created terminology. To
absolutely.
Like make sense of more things.
Oh, all these terms aren't things that, I mean, no one was talking about turning the barrel when we played,
right.
Like what?
Yeah, I mean, pelvic rotation, like pelvic drive, pelvic power, like scap loading, like nobody was talking about that at all. No. And so I think that's just created like an avenue for like almost the correct information being, given out. It is a very fascinating topic, and it's one that's, like I said, I can hear these video clips in my mind of like Pujols and A-Rod and, even like Derek Jeter, some of these other guys were talking about, what they were thinking.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, it's like that's there is no cookie cutter swing. I mean, you can't replicate it because everybody's bodies move differently.
Yes.
They react differently to different, hinges or,
levers. Yeah.
Everybody's eyesight's different.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, some guys need to be closed off. Some guys need to be open so they can see the ball better.
Totally.
And there's just, there's absolutes. I'll argue that there are certain absolutes that you have, just to be on time.
There's a lot of gray out there.
Yeah,
too.
there is a ton of gray, and that's kind of what has always been the topic of discussion between you and I for sure is all those gray areas and how there is so much variability in those gray areas. If the results are there, I mean, go up there like, what was his name? Chuck Knobloch used to do. The bat was pointing like straight back at the backstop. I mean, Craig Counsell.
Oh gosh,
guy had his bat a foot above his head.
Whatever you got to do to feel right.
Whatever you got to do to produce repeatable flight of the ball and repeatable results.
I love that. Tell me about your number of choice. What was your favorite number? What were a couple of numbers you had and why?
Well, as a 90s kid, I mean, 23 was MJ.
Sure.
So that was always, one for me. I think I had number 1 for a while just because I thought that, like, it fit a speed guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I wore number 3 a lot. That was just because it was the only low number available at Lincoln Land.
Yeah.
11, I think. 1, 3, and 11 were kind of the ones that I would always go to, but it's usually because 23 was like some massive jersey,
Yeah, right, yeah.
Size too big for me, so I had to get a low number. Was a lot of it too. Like,
yeah, you're right. A lot of times
as the numbers go up, the jerseys
are
get bigger
double
too.
XLs up there. Yeah, I don't want
44
that.
44 was a 3X.
Right.
I wasn't wearing a 44.
That's for Big Daddy.
Yeah, now they got, Nike custom dry fits for every team from 9U on up. Like you can get number 300 on a kid's uni now. It's crazy.
I'd love to hear about your approach at the plate and kind of how it evolved from, like, if you could do it in terms of, like, time eras, like high school, college, professional.
Yeah. So high school was, early high school, it was just get the ball in the gaps. I was fast, so I didn't, I wanted to hit doubles, not singles.
Yeah.
But I was still bunting for base hits. I mean, I just wanted to get on base to be able to steal. I was, and even then, man, I just had I kind of like a developed baseball IQ just from playing the travel circuit and taking it so seriously from such a young age. I had just kind of developed that knack for the game a little bit, maybe a little bit quicker, I guess, than others who were doing a lot of other things in the summertime or whatever. They weren't just devoting their entire mindset at a young age to the game of baseball. So it was, I had a lot of goofy stances. I was always changing my stance. I was always, just literally just going off what felt right. And
in high school or just all throughout your career?
Throughout my younger age, man. I was goofy stances, and I would just end up there because that's where I was able to hit the ball hardest, the most consistent, and started to learn a lot about myself throughout the years and paid attention to certain things and certain stances. And as I got to, hit my growth spurt there around my sophomore going into junior year, I believe it was, I kind of started to grow a little bit. I was getting taller at that point. I mean, I think at the end of my sophomore year, I was like 5'7". I came back, I was like 5'11", 6 foot going into my junior year. And so that summer, I really was starting to show some pop, some power. You know, I won't call it like raw power. I wasn't hitting the ball, 500 feet or anything, but I was starting to get some out, a little bit more consistently. So, there were things that I was, like I said, I was learning about myself, and I had a tendency to have a really, really quick front side. I would want to spin
open
off.
It up.
Yeah, I would. I was just a very fast twitch, so I had to learn how to harness that, and ended up kind of pigeon toeing, pinching my
closing
front
off
foot.
a little bit.
Yeah, closing off my front side. But around that same time, and I think a big development for me was realizing how important the eyes were, keep my eyes level, and really being able to open up and get two eyes on the ball coming in. And so that's when I really started to open up my stance. And then, and so it was, keep the front side closed, stay on the ball. My hands are quick enough. I'm not going to get beat inside. Kind of sitting dead red, kind of out, middle away. And just with the absolute unwavering trust that if they came in under my hands, I was going to be able to
quick enough to beat it.
Yeah. And they
or spit on it. Okay.
Just, like in a positive light, like just be able to catch that ball off from. My hands were quick enough. So for me, it was really, being able to take that middle away fastball, drive it into right center. I felt very comfortable in the inner third. So, as I get into college, it was just consistent, just really ironing out, figuring it out, growing with the game around me. Talent's getting better. Pitchers are throwing harder.
Were you at all looking like location, like, hey, outer third or inner or?
Well, I was a leadoff guy. Right. And I'm going to be honest, man, I had the green light from Bull at Lincoln Land. You were talking about, RBIs and, all these stats that I was in the top 5. I was a leadoff guy. I don't think I ever hit anything but leadoff. And I was dude, if you threw it over the plate, if I had a fastball over the plate, I was getting a good swing off, or was trying to.
Right.
I let off a lot of games. First, pitch with a big swing. Like whether it was I was connecting or not, but I was hunting. I was hunting fastballs.
Yeah.
I was never a great off-speed hitter.
Did you adjust when it came, or were you ever thinking this is likely to be here in this situation?
Yeah, I think I was more of just an adjust guy on the fly. Just read and react.
Tougher to do when you get to pro ball.
For sure. Yeah. Well, and I think I just wasn't exactly bought in on the – I'd never spent time really focused on pitch sequencing. It was more literally just see spin, see ball, hit ball.
Simple.
Yeah, and then you start to add some spin, you start to add some run and, velocity, obviously. And that's when that pitch sequencing becomes very important. Yeah. That's when that log of at bats, this guy threw me this pitch and just really being aware. I don't think I was very good at that when I got to pro ball because I was just such a read and react hitter. As a leadoff guy, literally, man, it was just, hey, if it's a fastball over the plate, I know I can hit it. Yeah, I can hit that ball hard. So that was it for me. It was, but I can also remember some of the farthest home runs that I ever hit in my career were on off-speed pitches.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the most vivid memories that I have.
Would you attest that to?
Getting lucky. No, I don't know. I mean, you catch a seam on a curveball. They seem to go a little bit further.
Okay.
But I think too, just being in a good position to hit and read and react.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, as like I said, as I started to try and develop some pitch sequencing or kind of bring that into the mix is when I got a little 50-50 on do I read and react or do I try and sit on a pitch here?
Okay.
And then it turned into like, now I'm 0-2. I still don't know what I'm doing. Now I just got to fight. Yeah. Whereas before in the leadoff spot, man, I was like, look, dude, throw it over, I'm hitting it.
Yeah.
I started getting moved down in the lineup in pro ball, and at that point, working at bats, working counts becomes a lot more important than a leadoff guy.
Sure.
And it's just some of the adjustments that I wasn't able to make were settling into a spot lower in the lineup and really just having a developed approach. I started to get there towards the end of my career. I started to get a little bit. I gained a little bit more trust in myself, my ability to kind of have a plan, a thought. I know this guy throws this a lot. 1-0, 2-0. Starting to think counts and stuff like that, and just was too little, too late. But it was much more of a read and react until I got to pro ball for sure.
Are you cool moving on here?
Yeah.
You got enough out of that?
Yep.
All right, what's special about the Lincoln Land baseball program? What's the magic in there?
Well, I just think that this area has a lot of high-level baseball. Lincoln Land notoriously has not been one to go recruit very far outside of Sangamon County and its bordering counties.
And still, brought in high-level talent.
I just think that there is really a high level of baseball around here, and obviously it's no secret that the Midwest is slept on in terms of their, abilities. I think, you put somebody's numbers, let's just call it a senior in high school from here, has a bunch of home runs, high, on base percentage, high batting average, and you go put that against a kid that's in California, and that California kid is like a lock to be a number one.
Yeah, not the same amount of respect.
First round draft pick, whereas that Midwest kid, is lucky to be on draft boards. I think now with social media, it's kind of opened it up to where it's easier, I guess, to find talent across the country. But I just think that Lincoln Land, as a program, and as I've come to learn, from the teams before me and paying attention to the teams after me, it's a very central Illinois-based team, and it always has been a very central Illinois-based program. And so I think there's a sense of pride. Most of these guys that go there know somebody that went there.
Well
right?
said, yeah.
Like most of the guys have that older dude that, this guy was a dog when we were growing up. I remember watching him when he was 5 years older than me or whatever, and he went to play at Lincoln Land. Like, I think it shows you that, nobody's too big.
Absolutely.
To go to a junior college. I won't even just say Lincoln Land. Nobody's too big, too cool, too great to be passed on by D1s or only get some sniffs from some really low-level D1s.
The Canadlers and O'Malley gave me that perspective 100%.
For sure, and I didn't even know those guys, but just knowing and seeing what they went on to do was like, well, man, like, they can do that.
Especially for a guy in your situation that had these, pro tools and aspirations, and, like, that was a real thing. For you to know that someone had already been there and done it.
Yeah.
And,
well, and Bull used that as kind of like a recruiting tactic to get me there. And
as I'm sure he uses you as a recruiting tactic now, too. You and, like, Maton and those guys.
Yeah, I'd be honored if he was.
Or I guess he's gone now.
He's retired now, and I think the program's in very good hands with Coach Torricelli. I mean, that's a guy that's a central Illinois presence, which is why it makes so much sense.
Sure.
I mean, the guy has been a lifeline for baseball in this community, surrounding areas. I mean, hell, I used to go to tours SCI camps as a kid. I mean, as a lot of people did. Like those were a big deal.
Yeah.
Those camps were a big deal. You went there to get better, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
And so I think you're going to continue to see that presence locally. His coaching staff is still locally based.
Right.
I mean, Coach Palmer,
he does a great
Danny
job.
McGee's still out there.
Yeah.
I mean, these are lifers, man. I mean, these are local guys that have roots here, family here, grew up here. So I think that's what makes it so enticing, and I love that about the program. I mean, I think it's, a very historic, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the community.
Word.
Yeah,
great word. All right, moving on. Great segue into this. Ron Riggle, Bull, just retired. I want to say his first year at Lincoln Land as a head coach was 2002. He was an assistant there for probably 10 years before that. Played there before that.
Lifer, man.
This guy is all things Loggers. I've got a ton of love for him. I know you do too. Do you want to say anything about Bull as a person or a coach that you think is just worth mentioning here?
I will say that Bull was the same guy every day. Mm-hmm. And as a young, teenager transitioning into being a 20-something, whatever, like for a lot of these guys, I think having somebody like him who is the same guy every day was very, very influential for a lot of guys. Love him or hate him, you knew exactly where you stood with Bull.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I was treated any differently as somebody that was exceeding as, the guy that was getting no playing time, maybe had redshirted or whatever. Like Bull's door was always open.
Yeah.
He was always available. He was there for me when, as a teenager in my personal life, he was somebody that I could go talk to and seek advice from. And, he's that way with anybody.
Yeah.
And was just very, very instrumental in my career.
Mm-hmm.
As a freshman, you give Coach Riggle a list of like your top schools that you'd want to move on to.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'll never forget this. It was like, you put some that you think are realistic.
Yeah.
Maybe the Millikens of the world, the ICs of the world, the, McMurrays of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And you put some that are maybe a little bit almost like a dream, kind of like a step up from there.
Sure.
Maybe the Illinois States.
Yeah.
The, I won't even go that far. Just the D2s, the UISs of the world, kind of moving up a level. And, so whatever, you get the point. You
Absolutely.
throw a few in there that are like, SEC, Big 12 schools, some that are like, wow, this would be a dream, I gave him my list, and as did everybody else, and he sends out an email with your file, with your GPA and all these things. And just, I didn't go anywhere else. I don't know if other coaches are doing that, but the fact that was like, one of the first things we did as freshmen.
That's cool.
You don't come here for your career to be done afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Was the vibe that I got.
Well said.
You come here to move on. Mm-hmm. There's all, I remember Bull telling us all the time, there's schools all over the place. I mean, everybody needs a guy.
Yeah.
Everybody, somewhere there's a spot for you. If you just can be a good person, a good teammate, and give me a reason to go to bat for you.
Oh, I love
and,
that.
That was powerful, man. He was, that coaching staff was huge for me.
I love that guy too. Before we move on, I've got a few things. I thought Bull was the ultimate player's coach, man. I've had other coaches that were, more dictator, tyrant like. I've had coaches
he was a manager.
Yeah.
Like a manager of personalities.
Yeah, I've had coaches that were, good guys, but they were just kind of disconnected from you. There wasn't that. Bull was the perfect blend of, I could talk to him about my personal life, I could joke with him, but if I messed up and he made me run or punished me, I didn't feel disrespected.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was like, he's the coach, I know how it is. He's still got love for me. Mm-hmm. So it was beautiful how he did it, because there were some coaches that, if you were running across
the finger at you, like it's like the way, like just wanted to yell at you to yell,
or like a young coach who wants to be too much your buddy. So then when he punishes you, you're like, "What's up, man? I thought we were friends."
Yeah,
but Bull was.
There was a fine line.
It was perfect.
He
did it so well.
To tiptoe it very well.
Love Bull. Yeah.
I hope he hears this, man, because I know that you and I are not the only two people to sit here and say that he was instrumental for us. As people as well. You touched on the personal thing too, and. I can remember many times going into Bull's office and be like, man, I don't know what to do about whatever. Literally anything.
Yeah.
And, we had a situation where we had some guys get, caught at a party, and, we had to do the suspensions thing. And, it was some of our best players.
Yeah.
And we're rolling out down south to go on our opening trip.
We almost had the same thing happen to us. Go ahead.
I mean, but this is the thing, man. JUCO bandits, like we're not always the smartest.
We're making the best decisions.
We're not always the smartest group,
That's
but it was
players.
some of our best guys that kind of got caught up in this situation, and Bull did what he had to do.
Yeah,
he punished them.
Right.
He didn't dance around it.
Right.
He didn't try and make an excuse and put them on the field game one. I mean, they sat for their suspensions.
Yeah.
They, ran extra.
Mm-hmm.
He was somebody that you wanted to work hard for.
Yeah.
I always felt that way about Bull. He was somebody that I would run through a brick wall for.
I love that. You're obviously a very talented center fielder, known to go get it, known to have the big arm. You have any favorite center fielders you used to watch? Loved watching, try to emulate or anything like that?
Dude, Trout. I mean,
Trout.
I know we were kind of coming up around the same time, but he was definitely in the pros before me. Definitely was somebody that I tried to emulate. I mean, he has about 40 pounds on me in terms of just weight, or like just strength, just brute strength.
Right.
But he, he could really, really go get it, man. It was really fun to watch. Gosh, there's just so many great center fielders. I mean, I remember watching a lot of Kirby Puckett.
Oh, man.
As a kid.
Wasn't expecting that name, dude.
I was a big Kirby Puckett fan.
Man.
I mean, the ball that he went in Toronto and up against the plexiglass and brought that back.
Iconic.
Yeah, I mean, that was like the person that gave me the dream of wanting to rob a home run like that.
Kirby Puckett. I would have thought you'd been too young for that, man.
No, I mean, I just was a center fielder fan.
Yeah.
Every team center fielder, I loved.
That's who you were
him.
watching?
Yeah, that was my guy. I mean, the Cubs had like Tony Campana for a while.
Yeah.
He was like a little speed guy outfielder. Like, I thought he was great. Kenny Lofton, Grady Sizemore, Torrey Hunter was
Keep
incredible.
going, man. Just throw names out there.
Torrey Hunter was incredible. Jim Edmonds was incredible. Yeah. Gosh, who were some other my favorites back in the day? The Yankees had a center fielder. Andrew Jones with the Braves.
Oh, man.
Bernie Williams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love Andrew Jones, man.
Oh, my gosh. One of the greatest.
Yeah, he really was. He had a great arm, too.
Yeah, and it was so crazy. Remember when he signed that? He just, like, the back half of his career was so strange. He was like a Gold Glover for like 10 years straight, and then signed a huge contract with the Dodgers and gained like 40 pounds. It was never the same. Like, just
eating good, man.
Yeah.
Eating good. It's crazy.
Were there anyone's swings that you really loved or tried to emulate coming up?
Man, this is going to sound so random, but Evan Longoria.
Really?
I'm dead serious.
Tell me why.
I don't know. I really don't know. There was this video, like, this is when YouTube really started to kind of get big, and I don't know, man. I was starting to figure out. I kind of touched on this earlier that I was struggling flying open a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I was fast twitch. You know, my front side came off the ball. I would lazy fly balls to right field on pitches that were very hittable because I was flying open, laying the bat down, and I don't know. I just came across this video of Longo on YouTube one day of him like really pinching off his front side. He stood up real tall in his stance, kind of had the bat just chilling up here around his ear, and he took it wasn't a leg kick. It was just a nice stride into his front side and just launched balls, man. I just loved it.
Was that the inspiration for your Lincoln Land swing?
Yes, absolutely.
Now I can see it.
100%.
I can totally see it now.
I tried to emulate
it.
I tried to emulate it. I would, when he was with Tampa Bay at the time, and they had an interleague game against St. Louis, and I went down to St. Louis, and I wanted to sit on the front side or the first base side.
Yeah.
So I could watch his swing head on because I
Really?
seriously went to this game to study his swing in person.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm just driving there the whole time like, dude, watch this guy not even play. Like, I hate the Cardinals. I don't like Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a big league game, but like I'm here to watch Longo. And
That's so cool.
Yeah, so that was 1,000% where my Lincoln Land setup stance came from.
And there's not that much video of you from Lincoln Land. There's 2 YouTube clips if you just look up Ryan Aper baseball of a double and a bomb, I think, against Heartland, maybe.
Yeah, that was a big day for me.
It's a little far away, but I could totally see it. And
it was it.
Being a hitting guy too, I used to watch big league guys too and try to take little pieces, or like you'd like pick up a bat and emulate something that you saw a big leaguer go and be like, oh, that feels good.
Yeah, the feel.
I'm gonna take that into the cage.
That's where I was the best. I was just.
I won't make this about me, but my best stint in indie ball, I was copying a Ken Caminiti swing, and it just like made sense to me. I don't know why. I was just like watching highlights one day, and it's like a caveman swing. It was not pretty or anything. It just like made sense, and I took it out with me to Goodyear in the Freedom League and hit pretty well. But that's just how it goes sometimes.
I mean, that was the inspiration for me, man. YouTube was huge. I just watched guys and tried to emulate it.
All right, these questions are bouncing all over the place, so just stay with me here. Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
I'm going to assume that you mean speed.
You could apply this to anything in life.
Well, the first thing with baseball-wise, when you say that to me, the first thing that comes to my mind is speed and stealing bases. There's such an art to stealing bases.
I wasn't expecting you to go here, but I love it.
I mean, Lincoln Land, dude, I was 52 of 53. The only bag I got, the only time I got thrown out all year was the very last play of my very last game at Lincoln Land. It was in the regional at SCI or at here in Springfield. I got a terrible jump and ran through terrible jumps all year and still was able to swipe a bag.
Do you just feel like you were so just in tune with like
100,000%?
It's a dance, right? There's art to stealing bases.
100,000%.
Oh my gosh, there's a feel to it, intuition.
It is an art form.
Yeah.
And that's why, like,
it's not just being fast.
Dude, I mean, we're talking about Trout, right? Trout's not as fast as he was, but he's still fast, right? And he just stopped stealing bases.
Yeah.
And he was starting to again this year in spring training, and it was bad. It started off rough. He was getting thrown out.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, Ohtani right now, or some of these guys that are leading the league, they know that they're stealing. They know they're stealing.
Yeah.
There's a difference between wanting to steal and knowing that you're stealing. At Lincoln Land, I would get on first. I got second and I got third, I guarantee.
And you had green?
All the time.
Yeah.
On slide steps, I mean, pitch outs, I was going. I didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I could
you
look
must
in.
Have been so locked
I
in,
could look in
man.
and see the catcher giving the fist.
Yeah.
You know, like a pitch out. And I would just kind of laugh, like, let's see what we got. And I was 52 of 53 or 53 of 54.
Yeah.
And the only one I got thrown out on was that last one. But anyway,
I love
for
that.
me,
that's perfect.
The one baseball thing that comes to mind when you say that is definitely speed and stealing bases.
I think that's absolutely perfect, and it's just because you're a 6'4", 6'3" guy doesn't mean you're gonna be a great base stealer.
No,
it is feel. There's art to it. You articulated that so perfectly. I'm glad you said that. I wasn't expecting you to go in that direction at all. That was more just like a funny, stupid question.
That's what applies to me because I was a base stealer until I got to pro ball. Then I was so worried about getting on base that I forgot that I had a job to do there as well. That's how I could make money. There was money to be made stealing bases and just simply getting on. Like my production dipped with the bat.
Yeah.
You know, I could have still been bunting more. I could have still been, got a better, I guess, taking pitches, seeing pitches in and out of the zone and just simply getting on base more to steal bags. And I just got so spooked, lost it completely, and never was able to get it back.
Well said. Damn, I love that. This could be kind of deep, or you can keep it simple, too, if you want to. Best advice anyone's ever given to you? Is there like a line that you just was like, oh, that hits me, like, or some sort of a...
I think the kind of two things. One that I wish I would have heard while playing that I didn't really resonate with me until after, but the one like from my baseball days was just, simpler the better. Mm-hmm. Keep it simple. Like I said, I keep talking about it. When I started to get quote unquote smarter is when I just totally.
And you're kind of a deep guy too, so that must have been hard for you to. It's hard to keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean
You're an analytical guy. You think about things.
I was.
You got an active mind.
Yep.
Sometimes the best baseball players are simple guys.
Yeah, I mean, just that can show up every day and have the unwavered confidence in themselves. Like I just wasn't able to be that guy.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to keep that confidence when the performance dipped. And those are. I've heard many talk about it on the show before, and I know you and I talked about this the first time I was on. Is the ones that are still playing on TV every day are the ones that 0 for 4 or 4 for 4. They were the same guy.
Right. That's so
they
hard
just
to do.
were unwavered, unshakable. Man. Like you just couldn't get to them. Yeah. And they just didn't matter what was going on. They were just rolling in there and knew that they were better than everybody else.
Yeah.
The one that I think I heard or resonated with me after was, I don't know if I could cut. Who gives a who gives a Who cares? Yeah. Who cares? Who cares what you did today? Yeah. You're the only one that's so worried about what you did today. Like, just enjoy what's, where you are, what you're doing, what's going on around you. And, nobody really cares.
Yeah.
Nobody really cares that much at all to stop and console you when you're down.
Yeah.
Life's going to punch you in the mouth repeatedly, and nobody really cares because guess what? They're getting punched in the mouth. Everybody's getting punched in the mouth.
Yeah.
Everybody's dealing with hardships at some point, and so it's like you just get so caught up in all the negative, in your own life that you're the only one that's going to be able to really dig deep and get yourself out of it. I wish I would have had more of that in me as a baseball player.
Right.
Just to be, even keeled, ride the waves.
Yeah, ride the waves. Yeah, you got to be a good surfer to play baseball, don't you?
Yeah, for sure, man. Absolutely.
Top 5 swings of all time in terms of just like you love their swing, beautiful, like.
Okay, I got to go Longo number 1, Evan Longoria number 1 for sure. Gosh, there's just so many. I can appreciate the beauty in any and all swings. I can look at any good high level swing of any major leaguer and be like,
him
wow,
and I nerd out on swing
that
stuff
makes
sometimes.
so much sense. I mean, I look at Javi Baez from like 2015. Like, how fun would it have been to just go up there and just so violently take G-hacks and connect like sometimes and often enough to where you're a commendable hitter and you're hitting bombs. Like, I just think that swing was so cool.
Loved his swing and
totally not repeatable. Like, nobody else can do that.
I really thought he was going to end up having an MVP year. And I want to say this before you move on. The amount, so if you lose a fraction of your bat speed in baseball, it can be so debilitating. That's I think that's what we're seeing happening with Baez. Like, he was such a freak.
Yeah.
He had such missile bat speed that he lost a tick.
Yep.
And look,
he's awful.
He's not quite getting
such a bad year.
It sucks.
I think he just had season-ending hip surgery.
Yeah, he
recently,
did. It sucks watching him kind of degress into what he's been.
He
digress.
Hit 210.
Yeah.
I don't know if
it's been a rough go since he's been with the Tigers, man. But his bat speed was blinding.
Yeah.
There was a lot of moving parts, but it was really pretty. It was like a symphony of movement.
Yeah, it was. It was all this crazy, wacky, violent twist, contortion.
Just letting it go. G-hacking in the big leagues.
Yeah. I love Sheffield, too, for that reason.
Yeah.
Sheffield's was like the wiffle ball go-to. Still to this day.
Everyone, yeah, right?
You give me a wiffle ball bat, I'm going
do the
straight
Sheffield.
Gary Sheffield. I'm going left-handed Gary Sheffield. That's what I'm doing with a wiffle ball bat in my hand today. I think that, so Longo, Javi, Sheffield. This is just the most unique, I think. Those are the ones that stick out. Ichiro, very unique, very simple.
Yeah.
Had kind of his ethnic background to his swing, which you see a lot.
We've talked about this. I think it's easy to – there's something about Asian swings that they look similar.
Yeah, I think that they have a timing mechanism.
Yeah,
that
there's
they
like a
teach.
deliberateness to it.
Yeah, very
vertical
very
barrel,
unique timing mechanism that they teach, I think, from a young age.
You see a lot of leg kicks, a lot of vertical barrels, a lot of really long, slow movements.
Yep. So a lot of standing with their feet real narrow and then striding, really getting a big stride, weight transfer, and
this is interesting. This goes back to our hitting stuff. If you're not familiar, Aper and I follow. There's a lot of social media hitting guys that have their own thoughts, their philosophies. It's fascinating to see these hitting guys go after each other. Like, there are some really cruel, mean back and forth exchanges sometimes. Anyway, a couple guys that go at it all the time. Teacher Man, who is
the guy's been doing it for so long.
Yeah,
too.
Richard Schenk. It's Aaron Judge's hitting coach. Ian Happ, other guys, but he's got some kind of controversial things that he teaches: the snapping of the barrel, the tilt, all these things. Jeff Fry, a former big leaguer, who his mission is essentially to go on social media and make fun of all these hitting guys and these new thoughts. And I don't know, you have any thoughts on either of those guys? Or
it's crazy to me that these people will invest so much time in just simply battling each other.
Right, being negative.
Like, it was, when it first came on the scene, I could see it as like a little spat, but like it's really gone on for so long.
Years.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. I don't know. I think it's crazy. I think some of it's funny. I think the content, the idea, it's there's no absolutes. I say that after having said there are certain absolutes.
There are a couple, but there's so much,
There's so much variability, and for anybody to just speak as if like
their way is the one way.
Their way is
ridiculous.
The one way. Yeah, it's too far out there for me to comprehend. I can't look at it like that.
Do you have any more thoughts on Teacher Man then?
I think it's very interesting. I think that it's a new way to look at it.
Yeah.
A new way to look at the swing.
Mm-hmm.
You look at a guy like Aaron Judge, and that's kind of his coattail that he rides, that Teacher Man rides. And look, if he worked with the guy, and then you deserve some credit. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
But he's 6'8", 275.
Right.
Just a complete freak of nature.
Right.
You cannot tell me that the length of that dude's femur, and he likes to talk about bending around, like pivoting coiling around the backside, using like your femur to kind of as your grounding.
Yeah.
mechanism, I guess.
Yeah,
and
well said.
It's just like you can't go to a guy that's even 6 foot tall, 170 pounds, and expect him to be able to use leverage the same way that Aaron Judge would.
Well said, yeah.
Some guys can't have any snap. They need to literally just slap the baseball.
Right.
Like a Luis Arias.
Right.
I mean, watch that guy train. Mm-hmm. There's videos that have come out now that, it's kind of become a phenomenon watching a guy like Arias train. These guys that have, crazy low strikeout rates. Rengifo with the Angels, Luis Rengifo.
Yeah.
They train together or have trained together and train very similarly. And if you're giving me any random 12-year-old kid and you say to me, you can either pick the way that Luis Arias trains to implement for this 12-year-old, or you can implement the way that Aaron Judge trains. Mm-hmm. I am not even for a second considering Aaron Judge's training with a 12-year-old kid. I mean, you've got to be able to teach the basics first, and I think that's the disparity with the teacher man. Yeah. This is not information for a 10 to 16, most 16-year-old kids. Mm-hmm. I mean, these are for
high level baseball
bodies.
They've got a good feel for how their bodies move and being in control of their body.
Not for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you asked me at 16 where my femur even was.
Right.
I had
What's
to
a femur?
Think about it, like, what do you use on my back, my arm? Like, I wouldn't have even had, you know what I mean? And so that would have not worked for me at all.
Okay.
And just if you've seen the videos of Arias?
Yeah.
The way he trains, I mean,
Absolutely.
It's incredible. His head doesn't move. The ball, he's makes contact, and his eyes are locked on, like, straight down at home plate.
Yeah.
Like, he never lifts to look at the ball. And, just from a simple contact, I mean, the guys are throwing 104 miles an hour now.
Yeah, nuts.
There's no room for a lot of guys there's no room for error. I mean, there's no room for error at 90.
Right.
But there's certainly no room for error at 100 with 6 inches of run. I mean, there's you
Crazy.
have to be able to get
that?
the barrel to the ball.
Yeah.
And so that's my take on it. I think
perfect.
You've got to be at a very high level to understand what teacher man's even talking about.
Yeah.
You have to be at an even higher level to be able to implement what this guy's talking about.
Yeah.
So
and even he teaches it as this is the way.
Yeah, the only way.
But it's not the way.
This is the way. And he'll look at a big league swing. I saw him doing this with Gleyber Torres recently, was very good and now is not.
Right.
He's not having much success. And this teacher man's like, well, this is exactly why right here. And he's got, reason A, B, and C. Yeah. And you look at the video from when he was hot a couple years ago, crushing the ball, and you look at the video to now, there's visible changes.
Yeah.
There are definitely things that he's doing differently now than he was then. But, your body changes. You have to adapt. Yeah. I mean, you can't do the same thing in 162 games.
Right.
Year after year after year after year. You've got to adjust.
Yeah,
You've got to adjust to your body.
Well said.
You've got to adjust to the game around you. And I don't think you can look at it and say that this is the right and the only way to swing.
I love how you put that. Do you have any favorite online, hitting coach guys that you think are on it and are?
Well, Trey Hannum, I think, does a great job.
He does.
And I have a really, random story with Trey, how I met Trey, and I was done with baseball. I was working for a State Farm agency in town, and actually I was just getting in my first job. I think at some point, I don't know. I ended up at UIS to finish my degree. Right. After I got done playing ball, I got straight back into school. I just wanted to get it done and out of the way, and so I was taking some online, some in the class.
Yeah.
I would take like 1 or 2 in the classroom a year, and it was my sophomore year. Or my senior year, excuse me. Jeez. My second year at UIS, and I met Trey in a class. I don't remember what class it was, but could tell he was a baseball guy, and, I didn't want to be that grandpa that was like, come here, under my wing, college kid, let me tell you the way, because I'm like 22, 23 at the time. Right. I was still definitely of college age. I had lived this whole, baseball life.
Right.
And Trey is just, coming into it, and could tell he was passionate, and I've followed him ever since, man. I've followed him ever since. I think he's doing great.
He's very sharp.
Yeah, I think he cares a lot. You can tell he cares a lot. He's always been that way. Mm-hmm. I know people from the area that have gone to hit with him that I used to hit with. I used to work with their son, and they spoke very highly of Trey, and so he's got my utmost respect and support. Outside of that, though, I don't really have any other individuals that come to mind.
Okay.
I always look for the source. Like, if I'm wanting to learn about big league swing, I want to watch big leaguers swing.
Well said. Yeah. Dinner with 3 former baseball players, dead or alive.
Jackie Robinson for sure.
Okay.
I think probably Willie Mays would be another.
Oh, interesting.
Just to hear about it.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot even imagine, dude.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I watched a documentary. Everybody's seen 42. Everybody's seen the Jackie Robinson movie. Everybody knows what that time in our history was like. Mm-hmm. But Willie Mays had a pretty similar experience. I mean, he was trying to buy a house in San Francisco. I watched this documentary on him, and the whole neighborhood was against it because he was black. Yeah. Wow. So now you look at California, and you can't even imagine that taking place in the state of California today.
Right. No diversity.
So I look at somebody like Willie Mays who transcended an entire geographical location just from the game of baseball.
Yeah.
Like, look what these two men did for humanity.
Yeah.
And it came from the game of baseball, oddly enough,
Well
and then, so those two for sure. You said 3?
3, yeah. Throw one more.
Dude, I would love to have like a whole, 20, 30 people there. But if I got to pick 3, I'm going Jackie, Willie, and then because he was my childhood favorite, my absolute superstar, I would say Derek Jeter as well.
Jeter. I love it. I love it. That's perfect. I asked a question to Corey Erickson that was out there, and it had to do with the multiverse in terms of the probabilities of their, space being infinite, and the probabilities of there being essentially another you out there in another, universe living the same life with some slightly different circumstances. Do you think if things had lined up for you in a better way that maybe Ryan Aper made it further, like a what if in baseball in another universe? What a weird question.
I'm trying to make sure I understand.
I'm laughing at myself.
I'm trying to make sure I understand.
I don't even know.
So, would it have gone differently if the circumstance could it have gone different? Absolutely, yeah, for sure, 100%, no doubt. Yeah. But I mean, a lot of that is
different organization.
Yeah. I mean, truthfully, and this is it's just something funny that I used to think and will occasionally still hit my mind. I had a deal worked out with the very next pick in the draft. In my draft, I had a
Sox. Where were you going?
Red Sox. Yeah, right. Boston.
How you get into that organization? You didn't get treated very well in the Marlins,
Man. And I had guys in the Boston organization, some of their scouts that were like very, very sold on me. Like they were pulling for me hard.
Right.
Like,
you didn't even know the Marlins wanted you.
No, I didn't. I went to their pre-draft and never heard another word from them again. And like when I knew that the Marlins were there to watch me, I didn't really perform that well, honestly. Yeah. They were there when we played John Wood. At John Wood, they were there. Awful place to play. Yeah. Terrible field. Mm-hmm. Weird backdrop. Like you're in a cornfield in a cage in a cornfield, essentially. And I did terrible. But anyway, I always, I always used to wonder what it would have looked like if I went to an organization that really, really wanted me to be there and didn't just take the guy that they thought they could plug and play.
Yeah, you said you never really felt like we were wanted there.
No, zero love. Nobody got any love.
What a strange
Marlins.
thing to be.
I mean, I watched second-round picks just get turned into pitchers after 3 years.
So strange.
Yeah, I mean, it was just weird, man. I mean, if you just go back and look at the picks that came through that, nobody amounted to really much, honestly. Totally honest. No disrespect to anybody that was taken by them, but, like, I'm talking high-round picks. Like, very few turned out. And I know it's a very small number that actually turned out anyway. Like, I'm not – but, like, for them, the number was even smaller. Yeah. So, I don't know.
My opinion is that, yes, I think if you – I mean, like, you could say that for anybody, though. Like,
truly, yeah. And that's this isn't just me.
Right.
Yeah, this is certainly doesn't just pertain to me. I think if you ask anybody that question, they would answer yes for sure.
Best things to do on bus trips. What'd you do? What'd you occupy your time with? You a car guy?
No, I mean, I was on the buses when phones were out. You know, iPhones were banging,
I just missed that.
Like, people were doing the Netflix binging and, you know, that just was not fun, man.
My era was. I'm like one of the outliers. I always loved the bus trips, man, because it was like. I was right before the cell phone era.
So you had to be
buried.
like.
So you had to interact.
Everybody was buried.
It was story time. It was fun. It was.
You get your Beats headphones. You go buy the $300 ones because you're going to be on the bus, so you can justify it. And then everybody's fighting for a charger, and it's like the bus driver's like, "We're going to put a movie on," and everybody's like, "No,
right?
I got my Netflix show I want to watch." So
right. Different.
And we were on sleeper buses. I mean, dude, the Sally League was brutal with travel. I mean, we one night went from Lakewood, New Jersey to Savannah, Georgia overnight in August. So we roll out of beautiful Lakewood weather, much less humid, and get to Savannah, and it is 100,000% humidity. You got those damn bugs in your face, those gnats in your face. Just miserable. Totally miserable.
Were you do you have any favorite books that you've ever read, or like, are you a book guy at all, or
man,
anything
I wish
that's ever been beneficial to you?
I don't even like to admit that I'm not.
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, it sucks. I don't know, man. I've tried. Like, I've tried the podcast thing, and there were books. There was like the mental game of baseball, I think was the name of it.
Harvey Dorfman.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. I read that a lot as a kid.
Great one. Yeah, I recommend that to people all the time.
Yeah, I didn't read enough.
There we go. There's your answer.
I didn't read enough.
That's it.
Yeah.
Cool. Moving on.
If I read more, I'd have been a big leaguer.
Do you have a most memorable high school game, college game, pro game?
My last at bat of my high school career, we were playing in the sectional, maybe, at home against Bloomington High School. Chatham was also in the sectional, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I had a bunch of buddies on the Chatham team. Or maybe they weren't. No, they were. They were in the sectional, I believe.
Like Lance and those guys?
Yeah, so Lance comes to watch the game, and I think they were going to play the winner. So they were scouting, but they all like rode together, and he had just got the new Exo Grid.
Oh, yeah.
The new bat.
Oh, yeah.
And I
wait, what was the color? The black,
white,
and
one,
blue?
The white one.
Yeah.
The first Exo, the white with the red lettering.
Yeah, yeah.
And he pulls up to the game. It's like the 5th or 6th inning, and he's got this bat with him. And I'm like in the dugout. I'm like, dude.
Let me
I'm
get
like
that.
Calling him over.
Let me get that.
I'm like, bro, what? How'd you get the Exo, dude? He's like, whatever. And I'm like, if you let me use this, I will hit a home run. I will hit a home run if you let me use this. I told everybody on my team, I'm going to hit a home run. First pitch, dude. This kid from Bloomington. Yeah, he lets me use it.
Oh, man.
I hit one.
That's a real one.
Familiar with the Lincoln baseball field?
Oh, yeah. I hit a few out of there.
Dude, I parked one like near second base on the softball field with this bat.
That's an absolute tank.
It was a bomb.
Yeah.
And I was just, we're getting blown out. Like, it was, I wasn't really too beat up about it. I was more looking forward to getting to Lincoln Land. So, yeah, Jake Lance pulls up with some other Chatham cronies and gives me his Exo, and first game swing, I launched one.
I love it.
College.
Mm-hmm.
You said most memorable game?
Yeah. Or it could just be an at-bat, whatever. Anything.
I had an at-bat off a kid that got drafted by the Blue Jays in like the 4th or 5th round. Dan Leitz was his name. Lefty from Heartland. We were at the Corn Crib in Bloomington. Might have been my freshman year. Might have been my sophomore. I can't remember which year it was. Ton of scouts there. More so for him. But I always say that this was the game that put me on the map.
Really?
Dude, I had like a 15-pitch at-bat with him. Fought everything off, spitting on stuff right around the zone. I mean, had just an incredible at-bat. And worked it full, literally like a 15-pitch full count at-bat. Like, got everything out of it that I could. Mm-hmm. And he left a changeup up over the middle, and I hit a laser right over the top of his hat. And it was just, I just remember the feeling of like, I just conquered that guy in that moment. This kid that's got all this hype, all this pub. He's the number one pitcher in the conference in the Midwest, in JUCO ball. Like, and I just, grinded one out and hit a laser back at his face. It was like the most rewarding at bat I think I probably could think back to. It was just,
I love that,
because he was so good. He really was great, and he had a good minor league career as well. And it was Heartland. Heartland was always really good. Mm-hmm. Pro ball. I never hit home runs unless my family was there.
That's so cool.
I never hit home runs unless my family was there. Every home run that I hit, Somebody in my family was there.
I loved you. That's cool.
And I mean, I only hit like 4 or 5, but
yeah, not a lot.
my parents didn't love me enough to come more. No, I'm kidding. They drove.
Right, if your parents would have come every day,
dude, they should have just sold out and rode the wave. Like I would have been, 40-40 guy if my parents were there. Seriously, man, I'm not even kidding. I did not hit a home run at any point unless somebody that I knew, like from home, was there.
That's trippy.
But I had one. Where was it? It was like, may have been my first pro home run, actually. Both my parents were there. It was in State College, Pennsylvania, at Penn State. I was like 0 for 900. Literally, it was like 0 for my last 30, 40. I mean, I wasn't even putting balls in play.
Yeah.
Just getting eaten alive, dude. It was top of the ninth. We were down 2, and I came up, worked a good count, maybe 10-plus pitch at bat also. Kid hung me a curveball, and I hit one, 400 feet. It was a game winner, 3-run home run, put us up 1 in the ninth. It's my first pro home run. My whole family was there. And yeah, that was a cool one for sure.
I love that.
There was actually, man, my dad saw me make the absolute greatest catch of my entire life. It was in Greensboro.
Let's go.
Might have been the last time he ever saw me play.
Uh-huh.
No, it wouldn't have been the last time he saw me play. Gosh, it might have been, though. One of the last times. But anyway, I was playing center field. It was real late. We were playing Kannapolis, White Sox affiliate in Greensboro. Big moment of the game. 2 outs. Kid hits a missile over my head. I was playing kind of shallow and shaded opposite field. It was a righty.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled one dead center field, good 15, 20 feet off the ground. And I saw off the back, got an incredible jump, just put my head straight down, was running straight back for this ball, and last second just glanced up and went full extension, dove, running straight backwards, made this like incredible diving basket catch.
Whew.
And my dad was in center field.
Oh, like right on top of it?
We had this berm.
Oh, my God.
We had this berm out in left field. They call it like the students would go and drink there and stuff. There's a bunch of Division I schools around Greensboro, and my dad just happened to be out on the berm when this happened. He was like right there looking at me. Yeah,
so cool.
It was nuts.
I love that. Who was the single most athletic person you ever played with?
With?
Yeah.
Like over an extended period of time, or like just got the opportunity to play on the field with him once or twice?
Just give me a couple. If you can think maybe like a teammate, and then maybe just some guy you were just like, oh my God, played against or.
Oh, against?
Yeah.
Can it be? I mean,
sure.
I always just do it against is too much. It's too many guys.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Played with. There was only really a few in the Marlins organization
that wowed you,
that ain't even made it to the show.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. One guy is Stone Garrett, still playing today. He was in the draft behind me. Just a crazy physical specimen. I mean, the kid was just. We called him Little Bo Jackson.
There you go.
I mean,
that's what I'm looking for.
He was
Little Bo.
Physically,
just dominant. Just
dude had
different
8-pack abs.
Yeah.
Calves were the size of footballs. Traps. I mean, the kid was just built like you would not believe.
Just had it.
Yeah, just had it, and he's had to put together a pretty good major league career.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that he's still in the big leagues and may have had some injuries, but he was a freak, man. Just a physical specimen for sure.
That works. What about BG wise, batting gloves? Did you have a brand you liked more than the others?
I think I kind of fell into Franklin's.
Do you care about color?
Something near the team, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like team colors. That now they got all these crazy, like iridescent, like crazy, like neon everything.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have wore that at all. But
were you tar guy, Moda stick, tape? What'd you do?
Big time pine tar.
Yeah,
love the pine tar. The first thing I would do with every aluminum bat that I got was take off the original grip and I would tape it. I had a specific tape job that I liked.
Can you speak about that at all?
Yeah, I would just flare the knob. Yeah. Truly, I would just put a pretty thick ring right up next to the knob, kind of right in the middle of my palm, like where you got the most pressure in your bottom hand.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got into the pro ball, I realized that you could make a knob, like they could make a flared knob like that. And so I had a couple before I realized, and then the lizard skin,
those are big now,
came out, and so which is counterintuitive for me because I would always take the grip off, and here I was putting a grip on a wooden bat.
Would you put it back? So, like when you were a metal bat and you took the grip off, would you re-put the tape on? Would it be thinner?
Yeah, I wanted it real thin. The only place I wanted any thickness at all was right there in the knob.
Mm-hmm.
I use that Pro Hitter, the thumb.
Yep.
That's evolved now. I've noticed big league guys.
Different.
It looks way, way different.
Yeah,
now.
it's like a bigger almost.
Yeah,
it goes into the webbing,
the pocket of your thumb and forefinger.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before it was just like that little rubber nub.
Yeah, that just stayed on your thumb.
I always lined it up where the nub was underneath, like on it, like aligned my hands.
Right, it would keep it in your.
And I saw some guys hit with it like straight up.
Lots
I never understood I thought there was only one way to use it.
You know,
I really did. I thought there. So I got the Pro Bowl, and these guys are like letting it stick straight up, and I'm like,
I've seen that too. Yeah.
What are you using it for? You know, I just never understood.
Cool.
Sammy Sosa used to have a tennis ball.
Yes.
Taped up over the knob of his
the biggest knob you've ever seen.
I think he would literally cut a hole in a tennis ball and tape around it.
And
I thought that was so cool.
It looked like a whole roll of tape.
Yeah, I would try and do that, honestly, and then I realized like that was stupid. But, I liked Franklin when I got in Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
My agent was able to get me a lot of those, so I like those. I like those, yeah. Lasted the longest.
Glove of choice. What were you glove?
Rawlings, baby.
Always Rawlings.
All day, yeah. All day.
Heart of the Hide, Pro Preferred.
I never had it like that. I could never get Pro Preferred, dude. I mean, Heart of the Hide was as good as it got for me. I mean, I didn't blame. You know, what were my parents going to go buy a $400 glove for me for?
Do you now thoughts on, conditioning a glove, keeping it right? What'd you do? What'd you like?
I would condition it a lot. You know, especially in the off season when it's just kind of sitting around in the house.
Anything specific that you used?
There's that glove oil.
Okay.
But to break it in, no. I mean, I had a certain way that I wanted the flares to kind of flare out. You know, I had a certain
the pinky and the thumb.
Yep, I had a certain way that I would kind of bend those and mold those.
I know I've seen yours before. It's very flared, if I remember right.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was just like a tick that I had where I was just always grabbing it. Yeah. I
didn't want it curved in.
I didn't want it curved in, but then as I got in a Pro Bowl, I really wanted that nice flush pinky to thumb.
Yep.
Because as an outfielder, you put your ring finger and your pinky finger, in the pinky slot.
Right.
So I really wanted that nice flush,
deep
fold.
Yep.
Yeah, like a real deep pocket.
Yeah.
So I liked the trapeze web.
Mm-hmm.
Any web that had really allowed you the H web was a good one too.
I was a big H web guy
for outfield. You were really able to get a deep pocket. So that's how I.
Wait, you were trapeze or H?
I was started trapeze, and then I realized like H was nice too. Yeah. So I think my last two gamers were H webs.
Okay.
I have them here.
Did you have like a gamer and a backup always, or how did that work for you?
Well, no, man. I honestly wasn't. I wasn't well off enough, to have. I was. I always pitched also. So luckily for me, my parents weren't making me run out there with a 12 3/4 inch glove to pitch. So I had some sort of infield glove that I would use to pitch.
Yeah.
Tried to use like a basket web, something closed off so you couldn't see the ball in the pocket.
Yeah.
Always a Rawlings guy though.
Me too.
A glovesmith guy as a kid.
I had a glovesmith.
Kenny G.
Man, Kenny.
Yeah, it's some nice mitts, man. Yeah. Some nice gloves. Those glovesmith gloves.
The first glovesmith I got, it was, so thick. That good leather. That's
man.
You can't even move it. It's so thick. It took me a year to break that dang thing in.
Yep.
All right. What did you keep from your career? And so in your first podcast, I remember saying like, "Hey, there's like your jerseys on eBay for like $200." Didn't someone scoop that?
You did, dude.
No, I didn't buy it.
Bro, you bought that for me.
I thought your mom did.
No, I'm pretty sure you bought that for me.
I did not buy it for you. Someone in your family did. I thought your mom and dad did.
My mom and my dad bought anything that could. My dad especially would buy anything.
Do you have it?
I got some jerseys here. I have some jerseys and some nice. My dad, as a gift one year, got all my jerseys, folded, pressed, steamed, put in a nice encase, which I really, really appreciated. Yeah. But now that I've got two daughters, I would love nothing more than to somehow be able to see them in those jerseys someday.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to take them out of that. Well, so I think I do have my spring training one that we were talking about that got purchased. And I think it was my parents.
It was your mom.
I do have that jersey here too. So I've got some bats. Some cool bats.
Yeah. Anytime this guy and I hang out,
the bats come out.
Yeah. He gets his bat bag out, and we sit here and just talk about life and just practice. If there was a video camera on us, you would think we're nuts because we're like,
we are nuts.
Little parts of we are practicing little parts of our swing as we're just talking about life and just.
Yep.
There's something about holding a bat.
Yeah, I mean it's it's amazing. There's an art to making a wooden bat too,
Yeah,
and
totally.
We certainly have a love and appreciation for that. But I've got some cool bats from some big name guys and some not so big name guys. That I've got some cleats that some big leaguers gave me, and some just cool stuff like that.
Okay, we kind of maybe touched this, and maybe this is like beating a dead horse, but tell me about the changes in today's swing and how it's taught. Is there anything that you believe would have been really beneficial for you?
Man.
Let me just go a little further on that. A lot of how today's swing is taught is working underneath the ball, slightly working
I had an
up.
uppercut swing naturally.
You hit a lot of bombs.
So I think that it would have probably worked in my favor.
But eventually that was coached out of you in pro ball, and you had a much more choppy downward
opposite.
swing.
Yeah, I
really
didn't know
messed with
what
you
way
a
it was
lot.
up.
We'll get there.
Yeah, I didn't know what way was up there for a while. That really set me back pretty substantially, but I think it would have been to my benefit. I think I would have found that a lot of what they were teaching just came natural to me, luckily.
Okay.
But man, what I think would have changed my career is the advancements in the pitching machines now.
Oh, yeah, just getting reps.
I was just reading about this Traject, I think it's called, Trajekt, and it can literally mimic all the way down to the angle, the pitch angle,
too.
the shape, the pitch shape, the spin
talking about
rate.
outlawing them because they're such an advantage
It's
for hitters.
insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, you can literally go tee up Aroldis Chapman's 104 mile an hour
before you
two
face
seam
him.
right before you face him.
Yeah,
I mean, the
nuts.
exact shape of this ball and the exact movement. I mean,
Pitchers
I just
hate
think
it.
that is crazy. I would never spend a single second of my career off of a front toss, front flip ever again in my life.
I know both of us have talked about how much time we kind of wasted doing front toss.
Oh, man, we probably killed each other doing that. We honestly probably hurt each other's swing more so than we even know. Honestly, and it's all we can do now is laugh.
Right.
Because what we didn't know, we didn't know.
Yeah,
but
we thought we were getting reps.
we were doing what we could with what we knew. But yeah, I would not. I as a hitting instructor, I'm almost like embarrassed to say how much I use front toss. I think it serves a place, but the amount of reps that I gave kids from a front toss,
It can't be your main core of your hitting.
No,
routine.
man, it's got to be standing up, throwing at
It has
least.
to be. You need to see that
so
ball
hard to
coming
throw
down.
BP too.
It is
consistently. It's so hard.
And that was funny because when you and I used to hit, both of us, neither of us were good at throwing.
We were awful at BP.
So it's
like
funny.
some days we would get like genuinely mad at each other.
Yeah, there's you could see frustration between him and
It's
I.
like, dude, we're 10
we used
feet
to
away.
videotape our sessions. And
Yeah.
like neither of us could throw very well,
No.
or we weren't very good BP throwers.
We were outfielders.
You throw a good BP now,
Now because I learned to throw from my ear
Yeah.
with no regard for my elbow.
right? It's hard when you have that long wind up.
You
and
got.
you're
I
trying
mean,
to
as an
change it.
outfielder, it's totally different.
Yep. All right.
Yeah.
Pre-game hitting routine. Was there anything that you really liked to do before that you felt got you right?
So I ended up developing some tools for myself later in my career towards the end, when I finally started to find some success at the pro level. Man, as odd and as random as it is, I hit on a 2x4.
Really?
I threw a 2x4 down, and I had a problem of kind of tilting
Balance?
the tower.
Okay.
Yeah, I would kind of get a little top heavy, and it would fall over, and it would make me kind of have to swing a little like Ricky Henderson almost, like bent over at the waist.
God, what a unique start
kind
to
of
his,
working everything uphill.
Oh,
and I really focused there on staying balanced and keeping my hands inside the ball. So my tee work was very methodic, very structured. I would set it real deep and just kind of work a nice shot low liner between first and second, and then I would just kind of start working it a little bit more out in front of me. But it would be about 50 to 100 swings on a 2x4, just keeping my upper body stacked over my lower body, not getting too tilted over, and working kind of at an uphill angle.
Yeah,
and just really focusing on keeping my front side closed off.
Okay.
So working inside the ball.
Makes sense. And I think I already asked you this in the last one, but I just want to know if your answer has changed. Best baseball movie, followed by the worst.
Sandlot.
Best. Yeah.
Worst? Are there any that are just like notoriously bad? Like I can't think of one that's really, really bad that ever really went mainstream.
I mean, Summer Catch is not great.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just forgotten about. I don't even know if I consider that a baseball movie.
Angels in the Outfield is not.
I actually was a kid when Angels in the Outfield came out.
I think it has to do with how old you were when it came out.
Yeah, I was a kid. I thought it was cool. As I got older and as they kept making more and more of them, I started to lose interest, but I wouldn't consider that a bad one. Summer Catch, though, that's brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. Just Freddie Prinze didn't throw very well.
That's a weird visual.
Okay.
Not a baseball guy.
No. Did you have a most memorable bomb in your career that you were just like, man? I mean, you just told us about your pro ball one, but was there like any in JUCO where you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I hit that? Or anything like that? Or
one, and this is going to sound so crazy, but as a kid, I mean, I had a walk-off like in our summer league, like our summer ball, like World Series. Mm-hmm. It was double elimination. We lost the first game of the double elimination and ended up winning like 7 straight in like 3 days to get to the championship. And I think this was like the game before the play-in for the championship. Mm-hmm. Like to get us there, I hit a walk-off grand slam and we won 19-18. And I hit it like a laser to straightaway right field. So it's funny because the ones that I remember the most are the ones that went opposite field. Like I hit I pulled some balls that went really far, but I didn't hit too many opposite field. And I remember one in high school. It was like the second game of a doubleheader. I was a junior and facing a righty who was pretty good from Bloomington High, I think, actually. And left me one out over the plate, and I just crushed this ball to right center field. And it was like one of those where you're like, how did I just do that? Like, that doesn't make sense that I just hit that ball that far that way. I wasn't somebody that hit the ball out of the park to right center very often. So that's one that certainly sticks out. Yeah, I mean, it's always fun to hit a bomb. Yeah. Those are easy to remember. You know?
To. Yeah, and you got to hit a bunch of them.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to hit a lot there for a while.
A little more deep question here, and I want to put words in your mouth, but I do believe that you struggled kind of with your mentality and your confidence when you got to pro ball and overthinking and having, right? Would that be accurate?
Yeah. Well,
to say?
I mean, I'll put it this way: when your organization has a 30-day rule that upon drafting you and you being assigned to a team, there's a 30-day window where they can't give you any hitting advice. I think I made it to like day 15
and
before they were like, this ain't it. You got to do something different. And then from there, it was just a total spiral, just trying to grasp onto anything that I could to give me some sort of success. I mean, it turned into I was a ground ball guy, and I was trying to swing down on the ball, and I would get kicked out of the cage in batting practice before the game if I hit a ball in the air.
No, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this before in the other episodes, but that's where it got for me in year one. Right out of the gate, I'm scuffling, I'm chin's dragging on the ground, getting pulled behind the car, and I'm just hanging on for dear life. And yeah, man, just trying to figure out who I was.
I didn't ask you a question there, but I was getting to my question. My question being, how would you struggled with it then, and like you didn't necessarily have the tools to work through it? And I don't know if I'm saying this right, but how would you have approached some of that differently now? That you have these tools, that you are. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
No, it does. It does.
Okay.
I just think that I wouldn't have taken everything so personally. Like not let it just completely deteriorate my being.
Yeah.
Like an 0 for 4 performance really dictated who I was. Like that.
Brother,
in my opinion, I was only as good of a human as my last at bat went. Or my last game. Like I found so much worth in life and so much value in life from the game of baseball. Like it really became my identity. And it was like, if I wasn't doing good here, I'm not shit anywhere else. Like I don't mean anything to anybody. If I'm not good, if I'm not succeeding, then I'm worthless. And I felt that very heavily for a long time. And struggled with that after baseball too. It was like really finding my worth, my value as a human being that wasn't associated with this game, that I was so deeply obsessed with for so long.
Yeah.
So I think just simply lightening up. Lighten up a little bit, dude.
I love that.
Have some fun, enjoy it. And I tried. I didn't hate, the whole experience because I did bad, but
it's so easy to look back and be like, I wish I had. I mean, it's hard to have fun when you're batting 200 too.
Dude, I wouldn't even bat in 200. Like, it's hard to have fun when you're batting 200. Try hitting like 150, dude. And you're there to be a hitter, not a pitcher. Like, yeah, it was bad, man. I was bad. I was real bad. I was letting it definitely was weighing heavy on who I was.
I really hope that there are. I imagine there's got to be. I don't know how much of our audience is going to be younger cats from the area, like high school guys, but I really hope that if there are people that know us or their dads or someone related to them, that some of this knowledge can be kicked down, because this is gold, man. Like, I would have loved to have heard some of this stuff while I was in high school
for sure,
or college, and when I was dealing with these mental things that I didn't understand. And, like, how do I get through this?
Yeah. I don't even know that I realized that I was so it was just the decision that I made from such a young age. Like, this is my life.
Yeah.
This will be my job. Mm-hmm. This will be my career. And I was dumb enough to believe it all the way up until the very last day when I got sent home.
I'm not dumb, buddy.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I was so caught up in it that
I think you have to be caught up.
You couldn't tell me anything else.
Yeah. But you kind of have to have that belief, too.
Yeah.
You can't be halfway in.
Yeah. No, there's definitely a fine line of being dedicated and like devoted, like devoting your life and finding your worth in a game, whereas like you're just dedicated to it because you like it, you're committed to it instead of like one with your results.
Man, it's easy for me to forget that we're like 9 years apart. But sometimes I'm looking at this dude, I'm like, man, that is so profound and deep. And like, him and I talk about a lot of deep stuff. And like, it's not for the podcast, but I am always reminded, or it always trips me out when I'm like, this dude's like 10 years younger than me. I feel like I'm learning.
Well, thank
you. Always kick me knowledge that I'm like, oh, that was interesting. Yeah, for sure, dude. You're a deep guy. How did you like being coached? And when I say that, like, there are coaches that are heavy-handed, that are work with negativity, that withhold praise. There are guys that are put your arm around you, I believe in you, buddy, that kind of stuff, and people get motivated in different ways. I think I was when I had the most fun playing baseball, I had managers that were the ones that would put their arm around you, but also kick you in the ass. So I definitely didn't want the buddy. I definitely needed a quality leader, I guess I'll say. Yeah. But I played for the guy that was heavy-handed. I played for that guy, and it was the worst baseball experience of my life. Didn't get the best out of you. No, certainly not. The worst, it was more of like, the worst. Honestly, it was just like, dude, I just hate everything about this guy, and so I shouldn't say that. Around? What? With the guy that followed you around in the Miami organization? Yep. But I mean, for me, show me that you're invested in me, and I'll run through a brick wall for you. I feel the same. Yeah. And that's how I felt about Bull. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. That's who, that's fortunately for me, I had several coaches before Bull, but like, he was just another one in that line of people that really cared about his players. That made it worthwhile. Made it worth running through a brick wall for him. Bull was my absolute all-time favorite coach, hands down. We already kind of touched this. Yeah, we'll take a little pause here. Okay. Okay, we're back. Took a little break there. We've already kind of touched this, and we'll just blow past it after. Favorite team, favorite couple players growing up. I knew your Cubs. Oh, big league. Like, who was I a fan of? Yeah, Cubs for sure, through and through. Derek Jeter was my favorite for sure. Loved like the '90s Braves. Thought those guys were awesome. Yeah, I grew up watching them. Yeah. But no, man, diehard Cubs fan. Who are a couple of your favorite Cubs all time? All time, I liked Corey Patterson. Was a big fan of Corey Patterson. Corey Patterson, man, what a talented guy. Yeah, Carlos Zambrano. Loved watching him pitch and hit. He was an awesome hitter. Mash. Aramis Ramirez. I mean, that's an era right there. Yeah, that was Kerry Wood, Mark Pryor, all those guys. So that was a fun group. What do you think? This is kind of a deep question. Some of these, like I wrote down, and then like you see them again, you're like, it's a lot to ask someone. But what's the ideal mental makeup of a baseball player? And you can say it in more simple terms. It doesn't have to be a 10-minute answer.
Okay. The most ideal mental makeup?
Yeah.
Humble, grounded, motivated, and I will say even keel.
Yeah, well said.
Like if you can wake up every day, no matter if you're 0 for 20 or 20 for 20, bring yourself to the yard, get your work in, enjoy the process of it all, understand that, 3 out of 10 and you're one of the best ever, and just find a joy or, some guys play with that anger. If you're able to tap into that, harness it. I mean, it's something you got to be mindful of, like what makes you tick, and if you're able to pull that out of yourself consistently and not let your performance dictate where you're at, you're in a much better place than most.
Perfectly put. Yeah. What do you miss most about the game as a player?
The competition, for sure. Just the competing at such a high level.
Is that what lit you up the most? It's like,
yeah, man. I mean, dude, you're a 1%er.
Yeah.
1% of 1%. Like, to be able to get to that level is just such an honor, and just such a blessing, and just to, I got paid to play baseball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. It was the level of expectation is totally different. What that you have for yourself, and then what others have of you.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to find. It's hard to replicate that in any facet of life. I think it takes multiple facets of life to even come close to replicating just that one part of baseball.
I love that. I know you ended up. We both are lovers of the S318 Louisville Slugger model.
Yeah,
bat.
dude. Shout out Christian Yelich for putting me on.
How did you eventually get to that bat, and did you try other models before you settled on that?
I did try a lot. I'm going to be honest, man. I didn't really have too much wood bat experience prior to pro ball.
Right.
I only
a little
played
bit with the sliders.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was my only experience, really, like playing every day with a wood bat was my freshman year, because after my sophomore year I got drafted. So like, I always trained with wood in the wintertime from a young age. Like I just bought cheap wooden bats.
But you were so worried about this has to be a C271 cup.
Yeah, right. It's just like back then you're going to Dick's and you're just getting whatever's on the shelf, or your buddy's got the new Marucci that you like, and I remember when the AP5 Marucci came out, and I thought that was like the best model of bat ever.
Yeah.
But no, man, wood bats are so cool. So honestly, dude, it's so cool what they've done and how far it's come from the look of them to the feel of them, and no cup, full cup, half cup, bell knob, flare knob, no knob, and now they got these, the Ham8 knobs, the axe knob, like. Yeah. It's really crazy, man, and I just think it all comes down to just what feels right in your hands. Some guys love an end-loaded bat.
Yeah. Some
guys love an equally distributed, weight proportion. Some guys want a really, really light bat, so they want to swing ash. It's like you have all these different variations and options.
The last ash bat swinger just retired. You know who it was?
Do we know that for sure? Is the only guy swinging ash?
100%.
Why do we know that?
It's just a fact.
How is that a fact?
I've read the articles.
Nobody else swings ash.
One guy.
And he just retired.
All-time great. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He actually bought up the rest of the ash bat supply from Marucci and Louisville Slugger, I believe.
All right, I don't want to waste too much time.
Sorry, Joey Votto. He was
really?
The last one. Yep.
I would have loved to have sat here and kept thinking.
Before that, it was Longo and it was Buster Posey. They were like some of the last. Sorry, you were on a roll.
That was
there.
cool,
I'm sorry
though.
to disrupt you.
No, that was cool. I'm glad you added that. That was nice. It was,
how did you? Let's do this.
I swung maple.
Right. How did you settle on? How would you describe the S318?
Not too end loaded,
right?
But not too like handle heavy.
Yeah.
Not like mid handle heavy.
Right.
Like an M110 nice knob.
Was like a mid.
Yeah.
Feel.
Yeah. Nice knob.
Little bell knob.
Yeah, a little bell knob. Feel like it was just, I don't know, man.
Felt right.
It's just one of those things, where, somebody else could pick that up and be like, oh, I
don't
hate
like
this.
this.
Yeah, I need that big T141.
Like I remember feeling like the I-13 and be like, this is the worst feeling bat I've ever felt.
And I loved the I-13 for a while.
Like the way
when
the
I had that deal with MaxBat, I was just like, you know what? Like, just send me some of your most popular from the minor league group.
Yeah.
And they did their own variations of some, so there were some models that I probably didn't even know that I was swinging.
Sure.
But yeah, the S318, man, that natural finish S318 was like the coolest, best feeling bat that I ever came across.
And so you tell me about the yellow Christian Yelich part of that.
So when I got drafted, he was in AA and had just gotten hurt. He dove for a ball or something and strained his hip, so they had him down at the complex in Jupiter, just rehabbing and stuff. And so I got to play with him a little bit and kind of, develop, I guess, friendship.
Yeah.
Just, not like we weren't best friends or anything like that, but we were outfielders, so we would do the drills together and stuff like that. So I was around him a little bit and just, in our hitter groups, you get paired up usually with outfielders, or if you're an infielder, you get paired up with infielders, and you know how it is. Like, bats are just around. You're like, oh, what are you swinging? And that was really the first time I even felt it. And I kind of forgot about it because I was still kind of on this quest to find my own.
Yeah.
And then just after having tried several different other models, came back to the 318. It was like any company that I could work with that would give me a deal.
You wanted that.
I want your version of the 318. Yeah. Yep.
Right. I loved how it felt too. There was just like the handle felt right. There was just enough barrel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like the pea shooters, man. Those
C271, T141 are like smaller barrel bats, and a lot of guys transitioning from metal think those feel good because they're light.
Yeah.
Right. Versus,
but I felt like I was swinging a
C243 big barrel.
Stick.
Yeah.
When I had a 271 in my hand or a
so
141,
small, it doesn't feel right. Yeah.
There was an M, like an M.
There's an M110.
M110, that was kind of a popular one too. I think Jeter used that a lot.
M110 is kind of balanced.
It felt like a wiffle ball bat to me.
You thought so?
I did.
M110?
Yeah, I felt like a pool stick.
Yeah.
Wiffle ball bat combination. It was weird.
And okay, and you settle on maple. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I tried ash, but
yeah. Did you? And you were 33.5, right?
Yeah, I tried to be a little bit bigger body. That was something that I always thought after I got done playing that I
should have gone smaller.
I tried to like be a man and use a 34, 31 and a half, and like
Same.
I should have just
I had
used a
this,
33, 30 and a half.
I had the exact same regret. I swung a 34 a lot of my career, and I wish I had swung a 33.
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe even choked it.
I was just I felt like I was missing so far away. Like the outside corner in my pro career seems so far away because guys could paint that backdoor sinker.
Yeah.
Or, lefty could backdoor a slider, and I just felt like I couldn't hit it with an oar, you know, like I could. It just felt so far away.
Did you ever look up to anyone locally that you kind of came up around here? Yeah,
there were some Lincoln guys, man. That Wes Neese, Kurt Courtwright.
Kurt Courtwright.
Yeah,
I played against him. He's a baseball dude. Is he U of I assistant coach now or something?
Not. I don't know that he is.
What's he doing
still.
now?
He
okay.
Had some health concerns. Okay. Is what I'll say.
Okay.
Think about the guy a lot. Still to this day, I think about him a lot. Due in large part to the health concerns, and I think he's doing really well now.
Okay.
But anyway, Wes Neese, Kurt Courtwright, these were guys that were older than me. Oddly enough, man, they went to the same grade school as me as well. So in Lincoln, small town as it is, there's like 4 or 5 different grade schools in Lincoln. And these two guys both went to Chester East Lincoln. Both played shortstop. Both were, good hitters. Both went on to play college. Kurt went to Missouri State.
Yeah.
Wes went to Carbondale. So, that's like as local as it gets for me. Like same grade school, same high school.
Yeah.
Went and played D1. Yeah, I was like really chasing their success for sure.
Best baseball video game of all time. You can name a couple if you want.
Dude, I loved Slugfest.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, man.
You could just go beat the hell out of the other team and stuff if you got hit by a pitch. I don't know. For some reason, that was like a fun arcadey. Like the RBI games were fun back in the day. But where it really got cool was like on PlayStation, the MVP baseball, college baseball. They brought back college football. I hope that they somehow can bring back college baseball.
That'd be nice.
Because I, as a 31-year-old man, think that I would probably buy a college baseball game and just relive the glory days for sure.
I think I would too. Intro music. What did you use?
Always rap, dude.
Do you have a couple that you were like, man, this is
Drake's Headlines? I used it a lot. When I played in Greensboro, there was a song by the guy Petey Pablo, "Raise Up, North Carolina."
Raise up. Take your shirt off.
I thought I was so cool for that. I thought it would hit so heavily in the stadium.
When that comes up?
Dude, yeah, like
the same.
Boo, like these people are from North Carolina. Like this guy is tarnishing our song. So I ended up changing it, and like I just had no idea who I was when I got to pro ball. Like I had no confidence, no swag, nothing at all. Like
you're like a really swaggy guy,
dude. I was swaggy back when I was good. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
right?
I thought I was untouchable because I was good at baseball, and then when I stopped being good, I was like,
wait a second,
I'm nobody.
Yeah.
I was like panicking.
Existential questions,
dude. But like I'm putting on like Led Zeppelin songs because I'm just thinking like this is what the crowd will enjoy to listen to for a little bit.
Interesting.
Like,
you were trying to please the
dude.
crowd
I was trying to be crowd pleaser. I didn't want to be the guy that had like the rap song banging, whereas like 18-year-old me would have turned it all the way up and just watched how uncomfortable everybody got by the sound of the music, and then I would go rake and laugh at everybody. It was like my world.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it was like my world, and then it was like I don't belong here. Like let me just play something soothing for
deep.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a weird question then. If every time you walked into a room now there was intro music, what would you?
Something real upbeat, dude. Something that just makes you want to not stop moving.
Okay.
Something that just feels right. I don't know.
That'd be funny though if that was how it was. You walked in a room,
walk up music for everything.
10-second intro.
Yeah, we should do that. If I was to own a company, I think I would make that a requirement. Anybody that works for me has to do a walk up song every time they come into the office for the day.
Is there a part of you that wished you had got that experience at Middleton and gone on to know what that felt like?
Well,
if you don't know,
because
Ryan signed with Middle Tennessee out of Lincoln, and obviously never went. He went and played pro ball.
Yeah, well, it would have been special for me because one of the main reasons why I was going to go there was because one, it wasn't too far from Lincoln where my dad was at. Mm-hmm. It was like about a 6-7 hour drive. So I mean, it's not close, but so my dad could be there, but also my mom had just moved to Murfreesboro, where Middle Tennessee State is at, for a job. So. I probably would have been living at home, playing D1 baseball. Like,
been weird. From
Lincoln, Illinois. Now my mom's living here, and so that was a motivator for me to go there. But yeah, I mean, of course, it would have been cool to get a Division I college experience, even for a year. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, even if as mid-major, as low level of a mid-major as they were, I think it would have been cool. And plus, one of my best friends, Jake Ingold, was there with me, or would have been there with me.
Yeah.
So it was cool because he was still there, so I would go see him in the off season, and I'd train with him, if I could.
Yeah.
Get to just kind of be around the guys a little bit and, outside looking in, but got to kind of live vicariously through Ingold there for a few years and just get to talk to him and hear about how his experience was.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it would have been cool. I wouldn't trade it, my experience for that, to know what that would have been like. Was still a really cool opportunity to have been involved in the program, in the small bit that I was.
For sure. Was there a teammate that you felt like you played with that was really good at like picking you up, like that guy that was like just the emotional center of a team, like he would, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyone stand out to you?
We all just had this, and I'm going to speak to kind of like my summer ball team that kind of transitioned to being my Lincoln Land team, really.
Stallions?
Yeah, the Stallions. Yeah. Yep, Midwest Stallions. We were just a bunch of dudes that hated to lose.
Yeah.
And we all knew that we had to individually perform at a high level to succeed and to win.
Yeah.
So we all were very motivated by success, I guess. As as a whole, we all wanted to do good individually as a whole, for the team. Like that's kind of how we went about it. So you just didn't want to be the guy that sucked that day, right. For your buddies. You didn't want to be the reason why we lost by one, or that you stranded a few guys on base or gave up the base hit late or whatever it was. I mean, we all wore that very much so on our sleeves. We were an emotional group. I mean, the highs were high, the lows were low. We cried after some losses. We celebrated like you wouldn't believe when we won some games we shouldn't have won. I mean, we were truly in it for each other.
Random. Mikey Hurwitz was on that team, right?
Yeah.
I never got to see Mikey. I played with Henry, one of my favorite all-time teammates, who coached you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit, just like give me a snapshot of Mikey as a player. I never got to see him play. Obviously, he went on to play at U of I, really strong player.
Mike
Tell me about him a little bit.
He was the machine, man.
Switch hitter, middle infielder.
Just the machine. The guy that every time he was in the box, he was going to hit a laser. Mm-hmm. Every time there was a ball hit to him, he was going to make the play. I mean, just as sound gets. Mm-hmm. He wasn't going to make a bonehead mistake. Mm-hmm. There was never going to be a play in the game where you look back and think, wow, Michael, like, really kicked, really let us down. He was always just rock solid, man. And, I mean, as deserving as I felt like I was for U of I, Michael was so much more deserving.
Really?
Because of his consistency, because of his work ethic, who he was as a person, and how he carried himself. Truly top notch. I mean, just all the way through, from a young age to the last out he played. That's cool. The way he carried himself. And it's really a testament to the family, to his parents.
What a fantastic family
just
that is.
Unbelievable
all the way through.
People, man. I mean, I would leave my house in the summertime as a, 8th grader going into freshman year, and in high school I would leave my house parents would drop me off on a Thursday and pick me back up Sunday. I'd just go be at Mikey's house all weekend. He was, I mean, that's the type of brotherhood we really had. And his parents, really welcomed me with open arms. Somebody that I still keep in touch with today.
That's cool.
Still love his family to death. Just fortunate to have crossed paths with him. But Michael was somebody that from a very young age, I knew that he was somebody I had to be like Mike. I had to be more like Michael.
Like that.
For me to get to where I want to go, I knew that I needed to start getting to be more like Michael was.
Interesting. I wonder what he'll think when he hears this. That's cool. I bet
he'll say, "Yeah, I know."
I bet you never told him that. Have you?
I think I did, man.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure I did.
Okay.
I mean, there was no denying it.
Shout out to Mikey Hurwitz.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Be like Mike.
The whole family, be like Mike. Yeah. If I could show videos of Michael and just how he prepared and how he played the game, I mean, I'll share a Michael Hurwitz story.
Okay.
We were 15 years old in White House, Tennessee, getting our ass kicked by this team from Ohio Warhawks.
Okay.
Just crazy storied summer team. All these dudes going everywhere, all across the country, big schools. They're kicking our ass. Dude, we're 14 years old, I think. 14, 15. And it was like a windy day, and this ball was hit to center field, and I was playing center, and, I mean, we're getting blown out. Mm-hmm. We're on the verge of getting 10 run. And I go catch this ball, and Michael's yelling at me from about shallow center field, maybe 20 feet behind second base, and I'm, pretty deep center field at this point. This ball took me further than I thought, and Michael, as soon as I threw that ball to him, he snaps the ball, looks at me, he says, "Don't jog to the damn ball. Put your head down and get there. Mm-hmm. Like, you're making us look stupid." Mm-hmm. This is at 14 years old, dude.
Wow, yeah.
This is what my shortstop is demanding of me.
Yeah.
In a game where we're getting obliterated. Have no chance to come back in this game.
Yeah.
We are totally outmatched.
How'd you take that?
I still think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I still have the utmost respect for Michael Hurwitz. From that young of an age, he took it upon himself to call me out, and I was offended. I'm like, dude, I don't take plays off.
Right.
I don't jog to the ball. Right. I don't dog it.
Right.
I'm not letting it drift to be showboat. Like, we're getting our ass kicked, Mike.
Yeah.
But that's what he saw.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'll, carry with me forever. I mean, that's the type of player Mike Hurwitz was.
That's a great
put me on blast.
Snippet.
Before I was anybody. I was just another dude. I wasn't a star. I was probably hitting 7 or 8 in that lineup.
Yeah.
Just scratching and clawing. I wasn't really anybody at that point. And, man, it was That's Michael right there.
I like that a lot.
Yep. Michael also, too, our senior year, I'll share this last story with Mike about Mike.
Please do.
SHG versus Lincoln at Lincoln. I'm pitching, Michael still tells this story to this day, too, and it's funnier when he tells it because I'm the one doing this, but I'm calling time. The middle of the field, Mike's first at bat, he's hitting leadoff. I'm moving the shortstop over here. I got the second baseman over here, third base. I'm positioning everybody. I got Mikey's blueprint. I know how to get him out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. Mikey's not anything. He's not going to get a hit. I got everybody where they need to be.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to throw it through the backstop. I'm eyes closed, head down, grunting it, in the warm-ups. I'm just trying to, one-up Mikey. What's he do? Puts down the most perfect bunt for a base hit.
Really?
On probably the hardest pitch I threw in high school. And he smiles the whole way down the line. I don't even think I tried to go make a play either because he was so fast. I probably still have my eyes closed looking down at the ground because I tried to throw it so hard. And Mike's just giggling his way down the line.
That's perfect.
That's a gamer, man.
That's a gamer.
He's not going to try and, have this, big ego where I'm going to turn it around. No, you're going to move everybody over the way. Okay, bink. We'll put down a perfect little bunt.
Yeah. It says a lot about him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, Mike's a gamer, man. Love the guy to death.
Awesome. Best infield arm you ever saw?
Saw?
Sure. Or was there a teammate that just stood out?
Actually, man, Aaron Blanton was my roommate in pro ball. One of my best friends still to this day. I talk to him all the time. But, dude, this kid built exactly like me. It was like me, but dumber and from Texas. That was Aaron Blanton. Stream bean, tall, drawn out, athletic, mouth breather. Yeah. This dude snored every night. Yeah. Was the Anyway, this dude. You could hear it. Anytime he'd let this ball go, you could hear it.
Really?
You could hear it. From center field, I could hear it.
Yeah.
It was nuts.
Different.
Yeah. We weren't to this point yet of having a gun on every throw that happens in the field. Yeah. Now, you can get everybody's getting velo checks every time the ball leaves your hand. Mm-hmm. But this dude had to be throwing 100 plus across the diamond. It was insane.
Like that?
Yeah, it was insane.
You obviously were known for having an extremely strong arm as well. On throws from center field, let's say it was a bang bang, you had to make the play and throw it quick. Were you trying to find seams, or was it just grab it, throw it, chuck it?
I think there's also an art to that.
Yeah.
I practice that a lot. Right. I practice my transfer a lot from a young age.
Easy to overlook.
Yeah, right. I think you could just get caught up in what to even do in that situation anyway. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there was many times where I wasn't on a seam, honestly.
Really?
And I spent so much time in that position of glove out in front of me off my left foot and working through that transfer process, that arm swing process, especially when I got to pro ball, dude. I was just my throws were so truly backspun. I could throw it anywhere and it would just skip perfect.
Yeah.
That was the one part of my game that was really, really perfected once I got to pro ball, was really just the fielding and throwing aspect of the outfield. Spent a lot of time in that transfer position.
Love that. Some great hitters talk about this. Could you read seams? Could you see the ball out of a pitcher's hand and get a feel for this is cutter, slider, fastball? What do you say?
Yeah. I can vividly remember seeing the dot on a curveball.
Okay.
And kind of the sideward spin on a slider. A lot of it comes down to paying attention in between innings. They're going to show you their pitch shapes and their delivery, their angle. Yeah. They're going to show you all that stuff in between innings as they're warming up. They're going back to their natural. A lot of guys are just kind of cruising through it, especially.
And now a short break to hear a word from a few of our sponsors. Again, please use these guys if you need them. Thank you.
We are also brought to you by Sitco Chiropractic. They can be reached at 217-525-2035 and sitcochiropractic.com. They offer chiropractic care, corrective exercises, lifestyle advice, nutritional counseling, spinal and postural screenings. They are located at 205 North Grand Avenue, Love the Sitco family. From the dad, Steven, to Kyle and Casey, I grew up with them. Their brother, Tyler, was a big-time baseball player at SHG and SCI. There's a reason they have over 70 ratings on Google, and they're all 5.0. These guys are great. I went to them a few years back for some back issues I was having. They'll fix you right up. Go see Sitco Chiropractic. We are also brought to you by Sheehan and Sheehan Lawyers, located at 1215 South 4th Street, Suite A. They can be contacted at 217-544-0701. I'm talking Pat Sr., Pat Jr., and Willie. They can be contacted for adoption needs, agricultural law, business and commercial law, estate planning, real estate planning, taxation, traffic and minor traffic offenses, personal injury, wrongful death suits. And I grew up with Willie playing baseball on the Southwest Braves. We were state champs. He played high school baseball and soccer at SHG. Pat Jr. was an accomplished baseball player at SHG, SCI, and finally the U of I. We really appreciate the Sheens here. Love this guy. Love this family. Great, great family. So go see these guys. Appreciate you. We are also brought to you by Body Cemetery, located at 2201 West White Oaks Drive, bodycemetery.com. More specifically, Chad Marshik, the owner, head trainer. This guy is just amazing on so many levels. He is capable of training anyone from a child to a pro athlete to just your normal everyday person to the elderly. And not only is he a trainer, but he is also adept with, physical therapy, nutrition. Everything is going to be customized to you and what you need. There's a movement analysis when you first come in to address any deficiencies you have. It's all customized. Chad is the most positive, happy guy I've ever been around. Body Cemetery will get you right. I would, put my faith in Chad and his trainers any day. So go to bodycemetery.com, get set up. Chad, we appreciate you. Thank you. We are also brought to you by Jason Knadler and the Bank of Springfield. They have a whole baseball team over there. I'm talking Jason Knadler, Justin Knadler, Timmy Ballin Wallen, Eric Weaver, Ryan Murphy, Greg Morantz, Murph Mathiet, Frank Stefano. I trust these guys. I respect these guys. Go see them for all your banking needs. Bank boldly with BOS. Thanks, guys. We appreciate you. We are also brought to you by 226 Sports, located at 3604 North Peoria Road, 217-670-1609. Springfield info at turn2outs.com. Multiple entities under this umbrella. Turn 2 training, which is team or individual instruction. Teams can come in and rent it out, or an individual can come in and get instruction from a top-of-the-line instructor. There's the Extreme Baseball and Softball Club, run by my buddy Kyle Welch. They have 9U all the way up to 17U teams, and Washco Strength and Speed, one of our other sponsors. We are officially backing this entity, and it's because of Kyle Welch. I love this guy. I love his passion. I love his knowledge. I love his vision. He's an absolute baseball dude. He knows hitting. Like I said, he has a vision to grow this into what Springfield deserves, and that's a top-of-the-line facility to help young ball players progress. I believe in Kyle as a person and as a leader of young men. Go see 226 Sports. We are also brought to you by Jared Washco of Washco Strength and Speed, located at 3604 North Peoria Road, 217-899-3233, WashcoStrengthandSpeed.com. I think Jared is the premier trainer for youth athletics in the Springfield area, specifically baseball and softball. He is on it, from his training modalities to his throwing programs to speed to getting stronger to getting faster. The proof is in the pudding. Jared cranks out athletes at high levels that go on to the collegiate levels. Go see Jared for all your strength and speed needs.
Lower collegiate level.
Yeah.
Just, doing their fastball, showing you fastball and just kind of cruising through it. But, I think, just you got to be really, really locked in. You got to be really paying attention and talking to other guys. If they see spin, then it's a guy that, is giving you some spin to see. I mean, some guys, their delivery, whether they hide the ball really well, maybe they're from a lower three-quarter, it's really just picking up your window, the window of their delivery. And everybody's window is different. Something that I learned in pro ball, pre-pitch, this is something that doesn't get talked about a lot, is where are your eyes pre-pitch? Are you looking at the pitcher in his eyes? Are you looking at center field?
What was your process?
So before, I was just there. I was just waiting for him to throw the ball and then picking the ball up.
What did it evolve into?
It was so much emphasis on, so much attention paid to their delivery, their release point, to where I was only looking pre-pitch where that ball was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
If they were a submariner, I was never looking up at their face ever. I was looking right off their waist, right where that ball was coming out, and my eyes didn't leave that spot.
Yeah.
And again, this was towards the end of my career when I started to have some success. Was, especially at that level, guys can be 3/4 and still 98 to 101. Guys can be right over the top, 88, 92. There's so much variation in release points. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you can just focus on where that ball's coming from, then I think that's going to put you in a much better spot to be able to see the spin right out of the hand.
I love that.
See that pop of a curveball, that elevation right out of the hand, mm-hmm. versus a slider where it's more true. You're going to throw through it. You really got to see that sideward spin. But some of these guys are getting the ball to spin so fast, throwing so hard. Yeah. It's really just read and react.
Great response. I'm excited about this next one here. We talked about this being a question that could be infinitely answered lengthwise. You have personal experience here on, basically the question is, let me just lead you here. Thoughts on coaches telling you to do something. I'm going to use your hitting as an example. So you got your natural swing essentially coached out of you mm-hmm. in pro ball, and we're told a lot of things that didn't work for you, a lot of swinging downward, a lot of get it on the ground.
Yeah.
I remember you sending me video of some of your stuff and being like, damn, dude, like that is not my guy's swing. Like that's not what made you an All-American. And you've said the same thing.
Justin, I'll never forget, right after my first season got done, my draft year, I was going to go to Instructs a couple weeks after the season. They let you go home for like 2 weeks, so mm-hmm. I needed to stay in shape because I had to go back and hit more and perform in front of our organization. So I go out to Lincoln Land's backfield. I'm taking batting practice, and Jay U's throwing, and he stopped in the middle of the round and was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, what's going on?
I'm like hitting, like in batting practice, like lofting balls to second base, like not even able to drive the ball.
Yeah,
it just got crazy. It got totally crazy.
Yeah, but I totally agree. So looking back on it now, sometimes guys will just listen to a coach, like appease him. You're like, yeah, I'll do your drill, or I'm listening to you. But then during the game, they'll go back to what works for them. And some guys have to make choices where I'm listening to this coach versus I'm not listening to this coach versus doing what got you there. And, looking back, do you wish you had trusted yourself more or what? What are your thoughts
we talked about this on the first episode, too. I remember I wish that I would have been able to die on my own hill, because then I would have had a hill to die on.
Yeah.
But I was just trying to take in so much information from the fire hose that there was no time to even build a hill to die on. You know what I mean? Like, and when I started to get some success, and it was really, I made a cognizant effort of just saying, screw this. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do, for the first time in my pro career, I'm going to do what I think is best for me.
That took you a long time to get there. It
took me to the very end.
Yeah,
it was
the very end.
Too
right?
late.
Yeah,
literally.
Too late.
Yeah, it was too late. And I was so caught in between what I should do. When I would get called up to play with the high A team that last season, I would go back to like my old coached stance, mm-hmm. Because I was so scared to display this thing that I've been doing on the backfields in front of nobody, hitting the ball all over the yard, with truly like comfort and confidence, that I just wasn't able to fully buy into that.
Yeah,
to where I would literally go to a high A game and hit in this weird stance.
It was like a don't get beat stance, wasn't it?
1,000%. Yeah, I just was sick of getting blown up. I was sick of getting ball blown by me and not being able to do anything and not reading spin. But I was getting so much better at that. I was getting confidence back in myself, my swing. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't committed fully to myself and in being my own best hitting coach. So I was still teeter-tottering and just, if that doesn't tell you how lost I was or unable to just really, commit to myself, then I don't know what would,
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
I had my own struggles with that too, of being told to do something that you don't feel like is working for you, or it doesn't, especially I was a speed guy too, and like that was my main thing. And it's easy for coaches hitting guys to see a speed guy and be like, put it on the ground,
Dude, just get it in play.
Get in play.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't work eventually.
No, and you're seeing that stop now. I mean, never has there been so many guys with 20 home runs, 20 bags, 30 home runs, 30 bags. We're going to see a 50 home run, 50 bag year from Ohtani this year.
Yeah.
Acuna last year, 40-40s. Like, that mindset is, I think, dead and gone. Of speed has to be beating on the ground.
Yeah.
Now it's you're fast. Okay, hit the ball in the gaps.
Yeah, well said.
Gap to gap.
Let me go on a little rant here. It's so easy for like a Little League coach to tell a fast guy, get it on the ground, because in Little League you can beat those out, right?
All day.
All day. I mean,
a certain speed.
Even through high school.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I relied on speed through. Yeah,
but eventually, those balls are outs.
Yeah,
and in higher levels of college and pro ball, those are outs. So that it's really a disservice.
I was getting down the line. Like I had one of the fastest home to first times in my organization, and probably most minor league organizations. And it doesn't matter, dude.
Yeah.
A ground ball to short's an out.
What were you getting there in?
Sub-3.
Yeah,
my dad was just
sub-4.
Sub-4, yeah, sorry. Yeah. But Pete Crow Armstrong, 14-1, home to home the other day.
Yeah, nuts.
I was just talking to my dad about that, him doing that, and he told me a story I didn't even remember, and I'm going to selfishly plug myself here. I don't even remember this. My dad just reminded me of this, but I went 13-8-6 home to home. I hit an inside the Parker in front of several scouts, and I went 13-8-6 was what my dad said. That the scouts said to, he was right there.
Yeah.
They didn't know who he was, and all these other scouts shut it off when I hit third, and only one scout, it was the Rangers scout,
I want to see what the whole thing
kept it on me from home to home. So, I mean, I wasn't slow. I mean...
No, you were a burner.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a hard time believing that. Because when I heard Pete Crow Armstrong went 14-1 home to home, I'm like, that's like alien-esque, you know? So, might have been like 14-3, I don't know.
No, man,
it was,
I mean, you were a 6'4", 60 guy, right? 6'3", 6'4"?
Fastest one I ever ran was like 6'2" in Miami.
Okay, well, that's top of the food chain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
for sure.
That makes sense.
I mean, but, it doesn't matter how quick you get down the line on a ground ball to shortstop is my point.
Yeah.
That's an out at that level.
Right.
So
okay.
They were trying to get rid of my natural uppercut.
Right.
It felt like that's why I was getting underneath. I was missing balls, and then it turned into trying to like teeter-totter of hands coming down while still fighting a natural uppercut. So
and then you just got
all bad.
Lost.
Yeah, all bad.
Yeah. It's so easy to get so far away from natural movements, and you can't find your way back.
Yeah, I couldn't.
It's too late.
Yep, for sure. Too late.
What was a couple of the nastiest pitchers you ever saw? Just like stuff you were just like, what? How am I supposed to even do anything with this?
Ronaldo Lopez, Michael Kopech, Lucas Giolito, Jose Fernandez. I got to face him in like an inter-squad game. Yeah. Those are the ones that come off.
Okay.
Just at the forefront of my mind for sure. All three, I mean, have had pretty good careers.
Yeah,
in big
absolutely.
Leagues. Yeah. Ronaldo Lopez is like dealing this year.
Yeah. Best coach / manager you ever played for?
Easy answer. I just had so many before I got to pro ball, man. I mean,
you name a couple there.
I mean, I'll start from the very beginning. Jeff Nelson was my Lincoln Heat coach from, I think first year competitive travel ball was 9 or 10. Jeff Nelson, great coach. Then it was, Pat Hake at Lincoln High School, Andy McDonald, whose brother you played for at Murray.
Yep. Coach Rob.
I had, obviously Coach Riggle, Coach Knadler, Coach Weaver, Coach McGee, all from Lincoln Land. Coach Kolovic, man, huge for me. It was my Springfield Pride coach there at like 12 to 14. Really was the one that gave me the opportunity to come down to Springfield and play with this group of guys that ended up being my college teammates. So he was huge. Yeah, man. I mean, I just had a lot of really awesome coaches, man. It was just really, really fortunate.
Takes a village.
Yeah, really fortunate in that regard.
What was your most difficult year in baseball?
Definitely my first year out of the draft, man.
Yeah.
just a lot of high expectations for myself that were just nowhere near met. I had this false sense of like proving everyone wrong, whoever everyone was, or like, just from a small town. Like I wore that on my sleeve. I wanted, to do so well for, the ego purpose of it, the small town, like,
was there anyone in that organization that was like mental skills or anything like that?
Yeah, we did. Rob Seifert, Dr. Rob Seifert. Him and I became very close. I worked a lot with him, worked as much with him as I could. He had, these little mental training programs where we, you come meet with him and talk through some situations, or he would give you some little antics, I guess, to kind of, reset the brain and move on and not carry your last at bat into your next at bat and stuff like that. And some really, really worthwhile, beneficial stuff came from him. He was the University of Miami's mental skills coach, coordinator. I'm not sure of the title. It was doctor and like sports psychology and really advanced. It's funny. I just remember, some guys would, laugh at it like, here's Dr. Cypher,
I remember guys laughing at it in ball too. Yeah, not everyone bought into that.
Dr. Feelgood is what they call him.
Now you'd be laughed at if you weren't on that train.
Yeah, for sure. Right? I took it and ran with it for sure, man. I knew I needed something to cling on to. So,
you obviously got a nice signing bonus when you signed. Did you buy anything fun or dumb or
dumb? Wasted, yeah. I mean,
You want to share with us?
I needed something to feel cool about.
Remember you had the Charger.
That was it. It was the Charger. I bought it in cash. Dumbest thing I ever did. Like overpaid for it, and it just gave me trouble after trouble, and it was a very routine reminder of what not to do with a small chunk of money.
Yes. Yep.
It made me very financially aware. I watched thousands go to the wayside for no reason.
Was your most fun year in baseball that last one at Lincoln Land?
Yeah. I mean, I guess, fun is success. Fun and success are pretty synonymous.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, again, man, as fortunate as I was to have so many good coaches in my career, I was on so many good teams, where we all were just truly pulling for each other. And, that's the stuff that you'll take with you to your grave, for sure.
A couple of your favorite stadiums, fields to play at.
Okay, that's interesting. Asheville, North Carolina, the Asheville Tourists. That was a really just unique. Nothing cool about the stadium really at all. I don't even know that I would call it a stadium. I got to play in Savannah, where I guess now the Savannah Bananas used to play. I think they're too big to even play there anymore.
Really?
That was just historic, man. I mean, that's been around since like the early 1900s. Like, and you feel it. Like you are down beneath the grandstand where the locker room is, and it's like couldn't have been renovated ever. Maybe once in its history. So everything just
sucks.
Is there
like an energy to that? Like
yes,
there's been like
yes,
hundreds
man.
of years of baseball there. Like
I was like almost brought to tears walking in. Truly,
there's something to it.
And I was aloof to what was even going on. Like it was just another park, another day in the life. Playing minor league baseball, and then you get there and you just kind of just feel this wave of like appreciation to the game. I don't know. That was my experience.
Yeah,
felt very heavy. Maybe that was the 110 degrees and 1,000% humidity in August that was heavy on me, but it was a special place to play for sure. Lakewood, New Jersey, it was a really cool park. It's a Phillies affiliate. I got to play at the Disney studio. That was, I shared the story the first time, 2 years straight at Lincoln Land, our spring trips to Florida. You walk past the big league stadium to go play in the backfield, and I just always remembered walking past thinking how cool would it be to someday play there, and that was the first place that I got to go play with, travel with the big league team in a spring training game. So that was certainly a full circle moment for me.
What you obviously hit a ton of bombs. Were you ever going up there outside of the EXO bomb you hit? Were you trying to? Were you thinking like, I'm trying to hit a bomb right now?
There was a few times, yeah. I mean, whether the pitcher was running his mouth, like for some reason, like I had some beef or created some beef between myself and the other team where I felt like I was slighted or needed to prove myself. I was
that Michael Jordan kind of thing.
Yeah.
Creates.
Yeah, I really did do that for sure. Yeah, it was weird, but no, there was definitely times where I failed miserably in trying, and there were times where I would do it. I would tell people I was going to do it, and I did it. There was, a handful of times where it was like, I'm gonna go hit a bomb.
Jack.
Yeah.
Did you have any rituals or superstitions? Were you that kind of a guy?
I did, but gosh, I don't know that I even remember them now. I mean, I was a big eye black guy. I felt like that was like
your thing.
That got me into game mode. Was putting on eye black, and I'd smear the shit all over my face. Like just
that era where it was just like bigs. Yeah.
I would take the fish hook and run it down my face. Yeah. I wore a bunch of arm sleeves and wrist tape, and I just felt like compression felt so good. I would wear the long leggings under my baseball socks and sliders over those under my pants. I had so many layers on. I'd wear 3 pairs of socks. Yeah, I would just wear a bunch of layers. I don't know if that's really a ritual or just something dumb and weird that I did, but
interesting. In minor league ball, this is an open-ended question. Any experiences that were particularly important for you? You feel like you had to go through?
Just being so bad, I mean, really though, honestly. Yeah. I had never really struggled ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, like I said before, my worth was so closely associated with my production on the field. Yeah. If I was going to just be a happy person, I would have to distinguish ball from life.
Right.
And it took my career ending for that to happen. I was never really able to figure it out. I don't think I was a miserable person to be around by any means. I'm sure there were times where I was a little bit less, joyful. Yeah. Sure. But yeah, I mean, I just struggled a lot, man. I mean, I was no stranger to struggle at that point.
Going through stuff builds character, right?
Yeah, I mean, you really just have to find your backbone. I was forced to kind of develop a backbone, and then life happens quick, and all of a sudden, you're kind of equipped for some things that you really didn't know you were equipped for.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, there's a lot of translation there for sure.
What age did you first believe that you could play professional baseball?
Probably my sophomore year at Lincoln Land. Yeah. So 17, 18. I wanted to. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, and I was fully, bought in on the fact that I was going to. But, how many millions of other kids have thought that same thing, and then don't even get to go play college ball? Totally. You know what I mean? It was one of those things where I just knew how far fetched it was, how almost out of reach it was, until it became my reality. And then it was like, wow, I've had 20 of 32 team scouts come in and tell me I can do this, so I guess I might be able to actually do this.
You we briefly touched on your arm strength, kind of building it in the last one. I actually had multiple guys reach out to me because we talked a little bit about long toss, but not specifics.
Yeah,
and they wanted to know, and I texted you about what your long toss routine was.
Yeah,
and going about ways building arm strength.
Well, I think as much science is around baseball now, and with the kinesiology and just the more in-depth understanding of the human body and the way it works, how to train it, how not to train it. Maybe this doesn't really apply today, but what I did and what I feel like really helped me was throwing it as high as I could, as far as I could, with as little effort as possible. Oh. And just we just call it airing it out. Yeah. Get using your lower half as much as you can to take as much strain off of your arm as you can, but just putting this thing to the moon, yeah, and just seeing if you can get it from foul pole to foul pole as high as you possibly can.
How often would you be doing that?
There was a summer where I was out there. I mean, every day during the week and was playing games on the weekends. Yeah. I was out there probably Monday, Tuesday. We would have maybe a midweek doubleheader. So, Thursday back out doing the same thing and then playing games all weekend, pitching at the same time, just that's when I feel like my arm strength really started to pick up, and it was around the same time my body started to fill out. I started to mature a little bit. But that was my routine. I mean, truly, that was my long toss in a strengthening phase, or a maintaining phase was as high and as far as soft as I could.
Interesting.
I didn't want to grunt it out. I wasn't trying to 400 feet. It was like, how can I just lollipop this ball every bit of 300, 350?
Well said.
Yeah.
I want to add a couple things. And you before we we started this, you told me that you'd like me to chime in from time to time too on some stuff. So I don't want to take over your stuff, but I'm a huge believer in long toss as well.
Mm-hmm.
There was a summer when I played on the Rifles where I long tossed every single day before the game. Like, I wasn't worried about tiring my arm out. I was worried about I wanted to get my arm stronger for the long haul.
Yeah.
And it was remarkable.
Yeah.
The jumps that my arm made that summer,
Yep.
from like a respectable arm to like, oh, that dude's got a strong arm.
Yeah.
And every day, letting it go, very high, letting it air out, getting air underneath it. Just, big believer in it.
Yeah. It really took off for me that summer that I spent with the Sliders after my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
I really started to notice. I made an effort to bring that back. You get in the season and you kind of lose that. And, here I am for the first time in my life really having to figure out, like, what I need to be doing to get better. Like, it wasn't about anymore just, doing your cage work during the week and go play in your summer ball tournament. Like, this was almost every day with the Sliders, like, where you really got to figure out what works to do every single day to keep getting sharper and sharper and sharper. And that was one of the things where, I remember some days before the game just sitting there without any effort whatsoever, just flicking the ball, foul pole to foul pole.
Yeah.
Just, flicking it, like barely even feeling like the ball was leaving my hands and just watching it just rise. And I was just like, damn, like this is getting nutty, so we're like truly surprising myself.
And this, I've seen a lot of baseball myself, and you have the strongest outfield arm I've ever seen. There was another guy I played with named Andrew Brower who was comparable, but just it was unreal, man. And I remember you talked about in the first podcast, there was a coach in high school that really helped you kind of iron out your mechanics, like you were getting kind of caught behind yourself.
I was having rhomboid issues.
Yeah.
My sophomore year of high school, I couldn't lift my arm above my head.
Right. And he really helped you kind of lengthen it out and get it the right direction behind you instead of getting it kind of wrapped and lost.
Yeah. There was some guy, dude. This is so random, but this is seriously how I got to that point. It was like a College World Series, a pitcher who would come up in his delivery and he would reach the ball like straight down and back. And he was like doing really, really good. Like, had a great run in the College World Series. I cannot for the life of me, I'll never be able to think of his name. I couldn't even tell you what team he played on. I just thought it looked sick. Like, the way this guy was throwing, he was throwing hard. It just made sense. And so I just was like, well, that must be how you got to get power,
Yeah.
So I spent a whole winter, every day in the winter,
mimicking that
up against a wall to get rid of this, to stop myself from throwing like this guy. Just swinging straight out of my out of my glove and coming up against the wall, because you can't reach back when your back's up against the wall. So it was ball out of the glove, and then I would work into my mechanics from a pitching standpoint. I would bring my leg up and I would land, and I would bring my leg up and I would land, and just work on that arm swing out of the glove. And it really, from an outfielder standpoint, that really, really, really paid off for me, because a lot of times kids don't really know the difference. Like, you're playing the infield, it's a lot of times about getting the ball across the diamond. Doesn't really care what it looks like. You can throw it sidearm, you can throw it 3/4. Yeah, learning to get true carry on the ball. And
if you have a really strong infield arms, I've seen guys, myself included, when I first moved to the outfield,
you get a big tail on everything.
Right. Yeah, I was like, I've got a strong arm. Why is all my
it's cutting real. Yeah. And then to add to that, when you got to actually one hop a ball, there's no shot that ball's skipping straight.
Right, you have to.
When you're pronating like that and you're getting that run on the ball, there's no way that ball's skipping straight. It's going to cut off to the side somewhere, check up, do something crazy. So it was truly, it changed the course of my career. Absolutely.
Love that. Are you ever recognized when you go out? Is anyone ever like, hey, are you Ryan Aper?
No, I don't. I honestly don't think that ever happened, dude. I don't think that ever happened.
No?
I wasn't ever on TV.
What's a dumb tradition in baseball?
Dumb tradition in baseball. Gosh, am I missing anything? I don't know that there are any dumb baseball traditions. Are there? I don't have anything coming to my mind. Yeah, I don't have anything dumb about baseball. I think the dumbest thing that they can do is keep trying to change the game.
Okay.
It's lasted so... I mean, I guess I understand the umpire situation, but to me it's like these guys get paid a lot of money to be very good at their jobs.
Yeah.
There's got to be a human element to it. There has been for, since the inception of the game.
Well said.
Technology's cool and it can keep advancing, but I don't know.
Don't take the beauty and the art out of the game, right?
Yeah. I read something the other day. They were kicking around the idea of requiring starting pitchers to go like 5 or 6 innings or something. That would just be wild.
Oh man,
that would just be wild. Absolutely insane. That would be.
Yeah, they're definitely. I think it's in the name of trying to spark interest in the youth, right? Because there's a declining viewership of young people, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
They'll bring the juice back next. I mean, they're juicing the balls. Watch anytime the Yankees and Dodgers play together. Watch, yeah, they're juicing the balls big time.
Pimping home runs, yay or nay? And celebrating strikeouts. That's obviously part of the game that's evolved. It's much different.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line. Mm-hmm. I was never one to pimp a home run. My pimp job was the fact that I didn't have to run hard out of the box because I just torched you. That was pimping enough to me. Was I'm going to not even look at the ball. I heard it, made contact, and just put my head down and jogged. That was my pimp job. I was never a bat flipper. I was never a jersey tugging, pointing at people. Like my pimp job was just head down, jogging, taking a nice easy stroll around the bases.
Savannah Bananas. What are your thoughts?
I would equate it to the Harlem Globetrotters, and I don't think that anybody would say that the Harlem Globetrotters were bad for basketball. I think it's a different element in this TikTok, Instagram, Reel, like all these social media clips that go viral and people financially benefit from it. Yeah. It makes sense. Mm-hmm. If social media doesn't exist, the Savannah Bananas don't exist. I think it's a little gimmicky, but I'm not a hater by any means. I mean, they're filling up big league stadiums, like where big league teams can't even fill up. So people are obviously watching, man, and it's still based around the game of baseball. So whatever. I mean, I'm sure it's sparking interest of kids to some capacity all over.
I love that. Do you ever have baseball dreams?
Yeah, I really do routinely. Oddly enough,
question for me to ask guys, because
oddly enough, it doesn't usually revolve around much success. It's usually something crazy, like I'm not able to throw the ball hard.
Really?
Like that's a dream that I'll have. Is like I'm running the bases, but I'm super, super slow. I'm throwing the ball, and it's just like a brick out of my hand, like just. Like I'm throwing a grenade or something. Like it doesn't go anywhere. And yeah, I don't. I do have baseball dreams. Like I said, I'm sure there's some context that I'm missing as to why I have dreams like that. But when I was not so much anymore. But when I was first got out, they were more like nightmares that I was having. Really, yeah, just like almost like a PTSD type situation. It was like. God, I suck so bad. That was so embarrassing to be so bad. Like where I would just wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh God, I'm not for my last 10 in front of 10,000 people today. Thank God. Like, can exhale. I'm just in my room asleep, Yeah.
All right, man, I got a deep one here for you. And this is going to be our last question.
Okay.
It's when you ask people, would you have done anything different? It's so cliche, or it's like the line to go through is like, no, I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
I like how it turned out, and I wouldn't be in the situation I'm in right now if it wasn't for this or that. So I'm going to take that answer away from you.
Okay.
You get to go back to being drafted now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, you were young for your age. So you were like, I think you were 19 when you were drafted.
I think so. Yeah.
You're young.
It was like right after my 19th birthday.
Are you June birthday?
Yeah, June 6th, and I got drafted. I think like June 8th.
Right. So You could go back now with all the knowledge that you have about the game, about the successes and failures that you had, where you felt like you could have changed some things. Are there things that just glare to you that you wish you could go back with all that knowledge now?
So this is a chance, but I guess you're essentially asking me if I could go back and have a conversation with myself to give myself some advice.
Yeah.
What would it be?
Yeah.
I think that the first thing that I would tell myself is just relax, kid. Like, relax, you know? This doesn't define you. You're no better or more worthwhile as a person because you got drafted than if you wouldn't have gotten drafted. Like I said, I think, you know, I would have, you know, probably done more to combat an ego, you know, because I think a lot of that, you know, inner negative thoughts are ego driven. Like, you're not meeting who you think you should be.
Challenging that.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. And I've said this many times already on this one, is like my personality was so one and the same or synonymous with my performance, you know, and just that, you know, enjoy it. Don't be so hard on yourself, but also, you know, believe in yourself. I was told to be a sponge, and I took that very seriously.
Yeah, you're too much of a sponge.
I took that very, very seriously. Just didn't want to be an uncoachable guy, and I think that there's a way, definitely is. I don't think that there is. I know that there is a way to be coachable, but also have a firm belief in yourself. Yeah. And I think that only shows up in the struggles. I think that that's, you know, not trying to reinvent the wheel when you're in a bad stretch. You know, I think those are the guys that move on and make millions of dollars, is the guys that just can keep it pushing. So yeah, relax. Not that serious. Have some fun with it.
Yeah.
More fun than what you're allowing yourself to have.
How long do you feel like after the game of baseball ended for you, were you able to kind of separate that identity of like?
I wish that I could say the next day, like the day after it ended. I really do wish that, but it was you know, it took me finding a career. Honestly, I think, yeah. Like I you know, I have children, so it's not to say that I was neglectful or like not present for them because I was still caught up in this dream that went bad. Like, I was very much so where my feet were in that regard. But it was just finding who I was, you know, like I said, you know, it's hard to define yourself when what you used to define yourself as is no longer part of you, I guess. So it was a couple years, man. I mean, definitely it was a couple years, a couple kids later, to where I feel like I was finally able to just, you know, embrace who I am to someone else. Yeah. You know, to see it, you know, looking at my kids, and obviously we all know our kids look up to you, they need you and everything. So, you know, just to really embrace that, you know, I think that was important for me as well. It's like, it's not even close to being about me anymore. Yeah. So how selfish would I be to still be sitting here lost trying to find my way when I've got, you know, a beating heart that's relying on me, I guess. So now I got, you know, two of them. And so it's just you know, it's a everyday reminder that it's not really about you. You know, it's living for the joy of, for them, you know? So like I said, I would just feel incredibly selfish to have drug it out any longer than I did. And it was a struggle for sure. It didn't show up in my day to day, but, you know, certainly reared its ugly head at moments, you know, sporadically throughout my life, but definitely in a good place now, to the point of, you know, just being able to look back and laugh over a lot of these things where fresh out of it, you know, it was still tugging on my heartstrings a little bit. Sure. So, you know, but it was, yeah, it was definitely a great experience for many reasons, but
awesome.
Yep.
Well, buddy, we're at the end of our questions here.
Flew through them, man. It was good. It was good, man. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I wish you would have answered some yourself. There was some in there that would just be interesting to hear anybody answer, but also you as like the host, that's also got a very unique story to tell. It would have been, and we'll get there. We're teeing this up. Blake and I are going to do an episode for Blake in the future at some point. So a lot of what he's done and built for others is going to be used on him. So it's going to be fun for me. It's going to be pretty easy for him and I to chop it up and go through his story, but. That's hopefully going to be the next sit down between you and I is yeah it's going to be a good one. That's going to be one that's absolutely worth listening to.
Yeah. So let me take us out here then. You good?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this will be our touch 'em all segment and our new Q&A. And I wasn't sure how long this was going to last. I still need to look at the totalage here, but essentially another episode.
Yeah.
And so cool. This is how I want to kind of continue on here. And just to give you some flowers, man, I wanted to save this for the end, but, man, I am so proud of the person that you've become. It's so trippy to think back. And I remember showing up at Lincoln Land practices when I was 26 or 27, playing indie ball, and this guy is about to get drafted and, take the world, by the horns. And just, you were kind of brash, not in a bad way, but you were feeling yourself.
Sure it wasn't great. You can be honest.
Right, but then, I trained you, and just seeing you grow up and become a dad and go through hardship and, build this career and all the stuff that you've overcome and just how introspective you are. We talk about things. Our friendship has evolved so far beyond baseball, and I'm so appreciative of you. And
same, man. Same.
I'm not going to go into it. I've talked a little bit recently about kind of my own stuff, but there are a few people in my life that I truly trust and truly think of as a brother. And if I'm going through some stuff or I need to talk to someone, the first person I open my phone up to is you. And
I appreciate that, man.
I'm so thankful for you.
Yeah, it's the same.
Some deep conversation.
Yeah, life is life's pun intended here. Life's throwing us some curveballs for sure. I love that. We've been able to bond essentially. Started through the game of baseball, and so that's why I just have such a great sense of appreciation for the show and the podcast and all the lives that you get to interact with and touch. And this is for other people and for their families and for their kids, and I just think it's really cool. So I'm always happy to be a part of this any way I can, and it's definitely a mutual feeling there for sure.
We'll take you out, like I said. I'm so proud of you, who you've become. You're one of my best friends. You're a brother. Thank you so much for coming on and giving me a little bit of your time. And it's going to be the post-game spread. We're out of here then.
Touch them all, baby.
Touch them all. All right, we're out. It's going to be the post-game